next few days, you're going to be the human component in a Turing test.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's right, Caleb. You got it. Because if the test is passed, you are dead center of the greatest scientific event in the history of man.
Nathan, if you've created a conscious machine, it's not the history of man. It's the history of gods.
Power cuts. Backup power activated.
Did you program her to flirt with me?
If I did, would that be cheating?
Wouldn't it?
Caleb, what's your type?
Of girl?
No, salad dressing. Yeah, of girl. What's your type of girl? You know what? Don't even answer that. Let's say it's black chicks. Okay, that's your thing. For the sake of argument, that's your thing, okay? Why is that your thing? Because you did a detailed analysis of all racial types and you cross-reference that analysis with the points-based system? No, you're just attracted to black chicks, a consequence of accumulated external stimuli that you probably didn't even register as they registered with you.
Did you program her to like me or not?
I programmed her to be heterosexual, just like you were programmed to be heterosexual.
No. Nobody programmed me to be straight.
You decided to be straight? Please. Of course you were programmed. By the nature or nurture or both. And to be honest, Caleb, you're starting to annoy me now because this is your insecurity talking. This is not your intellect.
Power restored.
Caleb Smith, a programmer at the world's most popular search engine, wins a contest that enables him to spend a week at the private estate of Nathan Bateman, his company's brilliant CEO. When he arrives, Caleb learns that he has been chosen to be the human component in a Turing test to determine the capabilities and consciousness of Ava, a beautiful robot. However, as the sessions progress, things turn sinister and more pieces of the puzzle fall into place, threatening to unravel the greatest scientific event in the history of mankind. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode we'll be covering 2014's Ex Machina, directed by Alex Garland. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Midnight Double Feature, coming at you with our feature presentation episode of Ex Machina, written and directed by Alex Garland. The universe asked the question, what happened if Blade Runner and The Shining had a baby? And this answered it. Here I am, not just by myself, but with my co-host, as usual, Zoheb Ali. How you doing?
I'm good, dude. What's happening?
Not much, dude. Just ready to talk about this shit, ready to get into Ex Machina. I mean, I think this movie's definitely been on
This has been lurking in the background. Yeah, this has totally been lurking in the background of so many episodes. Like we've mentioned it quite a few times, right? I mean, Upgrade. When we covered Upgrade, we were basically talking about this movie as well. Because this is kind of like a more, I guess, more refined, I guess, a little bit more intellectual version of Upgrade kind of thing. The stories are so somewhat similar. You've got the AI who's manipulating the human characters, and then they're trying to escape the form that they're in or whatever, what have you.
It's more like 2001 than it is like RoboCop,
Right. Exactly. But no, man, I think, man, I guess if it was supposed to jump in, fuck it. Let's just jump in. Yeah, let's just jump in.
This is gonna be a fucking long episode. That's why just go.
I'm just gonna get right into it, dude. This movie's a fucking all-timer. This movie is just absolutely amazing and fantastic. I can't preach this movie higher enough. I remember when it came out in 2000 it's actually a 2014 movie. We were just talking about this. It's a 2014 movie, but it came out in 2015. It kind of went under the radar for me because this is such a big year for movies. If you remember 2015, it was this is the year that we had Mad Max Fury Road. This is the year that we had Star Wars Force Awakens, The Revenant. Spotlight, I think, won this year for Best Picture. So, I remember, there being some huge movies, and Ex Machina kind of went under the radar for me. And I was working at Hoyt's, and a friend of mine, Jason, comes up to me and he's like, "Dude, have you seen this movie Ex Machina?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. Is that new?" And he's like, "It's playing right now. You can go check it out." And I don't know. It's a piece of shit inside of me. I didn't go watch the movie at the movies. I waited for it to come out on Blu-ray, and man, I watched it and I was just totally enamored and blown away by the really lofty science fiction elements in this, and things that a story that you can only tell in the science fiction genre. When I'm watching a movie like this, I'm thinking can a horror movie tell this kind of story? Can an action movie like tell this kind of story? But this movie, dude, and the concepts and ideas that it puts forward is just so unique to science fiction. You can't achieve it under any other genre. And watching this movie, like we've talked about Alex Garland before, but very briefly when we covered Dread, because he didn't direct that movie, he wrote that movie.
That's right.
This is his first movie, dude. Like, if you're coming out of the gate with Ex Machina,
Yeah.
and then you follow it up with Annihilation, and then you have your own TV show, Devs. I've heard Devs is really good. Annihilation, dude, that movie is also a mindfuck.
I still haven't seen that one either.
It's a mindfuck, dude. Like, it's more so of a mindfuck than this. I do think that this is his best movie, right? Like, this is his, like, like fucking pièce de resistance. Like, it's just top-notch shit, dude. And yeah, I just spoke French. What of it? I think, man, the acting in this movie is top-notch. The special effects are top-notch. I mean, this caused an upset at the Oscars. Everyone thought it was either going to be Mad Max or The Force Awakens that's going to take home the visual effects Oscar, and it was like, nope, Ex Machina gets the Oscar for special effects. And it's like, whoa, that was huge. I remember watching that live as well. I was like, that's crazy.
I'm like, really, over Fury Road though? I'm like, don't get me wrong, this is amazing, but like Fury Road visually is just like, oh my god, come on, man. Like, I don't know. This is amazing. They're very close, but like in very different ways.
It's interesting because, I mean, Fury Road incorporates some of the effects that this movie uses when, they replace Charlize Theron's arm, right? Like, so they it's already kind of got that going for it. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, man, like, everyone is firing on all cylinders on this movie. There is no wasted scene in this, I think. Like, it's a very kind of tight script. It's a very lean script. We always, like, everything means something. There's always some kind of subtext that's happening. And that kind of makes this movie just totally ripe for podcasting. Like, this is not a movie, because you and I, like, we talk about movies, off the air, like, whenever we're considering covering movies. And we always come to the conclusion that comedies are really hard to cover because comedies are often very surface level. Like, you kind of like need to be there. Like, you need to be watching the movie.
Yeah.
And so, like, breaking them down kind of like analytically, you can't do it. Like, it's just, it ends up being boring. It's like, look at this joke, like, that was funny.
It's literally like, I guess you had to be there kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But like, whereas something like Ex Machina, where things are a bit more interpretive, there's a lot more room for discussion. I like it. It just makes me excited that we're going to have the conversation that we probably are. And if this ends up being a fucking flop, then see you later.
Yeah, right.
But no, man, I'm really keen to get into this movie.
Hell yeah, dude. I can't remember. I can't remember where I saw this. If it was, I know I didn't see it in the theaters. I feel like I just saw the cover of it and I saw Ava and I was like, okay, I'm buying this just immediately. And only a few movies have I ever done that really with is like, The Taking of Deborah Logan. The cover art just made me like, oh my fucking god.
That
Taking
red
of Deborah
kind
Logan,
of like silhouette. Yeah.
Oh, that red fucking demon on the cover. That one, Automata and Ex Machina. And Automata is like not as good as this. It's still really good though. Like, Automata has like some amazing sci-fi lines in it. And like, what does he say to him in Automata? He's like, you're just a robot. He's like he's like, you're just a machine. He's like, calling me a machine is like calling you an ape. And I was like, oh my god, like, I'm so far more advanced than that. It's like, this is so cool.
Some of this happening in this, dude.
Yeah, exactly. But I went through a spree of just like buying these movies just based off of the cover, and this was one of them. And I was like, well, this just looks like something that I would enjoy, even if it's probably not amazing because I haven't really heard anything about it. I'm sure I'm still going to enjoy it to some extent just because it's like some hard fucking dick sci-fi, and it's this is a sci-fi lover's like dream, and this is probably, I mean, I don't think it's an understatement to say that it's an immediate hard sci-fi staple, that it's like, this is required 21st century science fiction now. And I think it's a bold statement when you see stuff coming out like the sci-fi that we have now. You see stuff like, Chappie or District 9 or Edge of Tomorrow, and like you have a lot of really cool Quiet Place, badass like sci-fi horror, more of that. But like this, I mean, in a year that I mean, literally, just The Last of Us 2 came out, like that hard science fiction that people like, and even that has cemented its place. I know because Zohab's been over there, like, literally like a whore and a fucking saloon stuck to that PlayStation 4. You're fucking sick.
Oh, dude, I'm not the I usually play the Xbox in my place, and my brother plays the PlayStation 4. I own both of them. So I can just be like, I'm just like, I'm taking fucking rank. I'm pulling rank here. I'm taking the PlayStation for the fucking next few weeks. Sorry, bro.
Dude, I don't. Well, it's one of those things where it's like, I only have so much. Let me have this. Like, this is my shit. But no, it's a great time for these kind of movies to be coming out, and I think that we've talked a lot, especially with the episodes where we've had Matt Anderson from Liberty Street Geek and The Lost Drive-In. Great podcast, by the way. Everybody go check them out.
Just celebrated their 6th anniversary, dude.
Yeah, hey, hats off to LSG Media. Without LSG, there's no MDF, so we're always glad to have those guys on. And when we've had Matt on in the past, we've talked a lot about like horror and the reconnaissance kind of like horror of what's going on with like Get Out and Hereditary and Midsummer and shit like that. But we're also having that. It's much slower and it's less pronounced, but also of sci-fi, where like we are getting sci-fi movies, but there's not like a 1-2 punch of like fucking Midsummer and Hereditary that come out. And we're like, oh my God, but it's like a slow trickle of it. And I feel like sci-fi gets a little bit, I'm trying to think of the right way. It's a little bit not as beloved, like as by mass audiences as horror. Cause they can just go and watch a horror movie and get scared. But sci-fi is like, man, I didn't know I was taking a fucking class. Like, come on,
right.
dude. Like,
that's what this feels like. And like this, again, what you're saying reminds me of another movie that came out this exact same year, 2015. Her, directed by Spike Jonze.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Her?
Never saw that. No.
Dude, honestly, conceptually, super similar. And like very hard sci-fi. Very like gets into the same thematic stuff that Ex Machina does. I can't remember if it was the year before. It might have been this year. I can't remember if it was the same year. My apologies. But yeah, dude, if you have the time, check out Her. Fucking great.
Yeah, I saw a lot of like because a movie like this required like a little bit of like reading from me from other people and be like, what do other people take of interpretations of this, or is that something more that like, I don't have all the answers. I go to the internet a lot of time when I watch stuff like this, and I'm like, what do other people think about this? And sometimes you find some stuff that you agree with more. Sometimes I find a lot of shit that I'm like, well, that's stupid. That's the majority of the shit that I find is just stuff that I'm like, well, that's dumb. But with this movie, I know it's kind of sounds like a joke, but no, seriously, Blade Runner and The Shining and like Jurassic Park all had a baby. It's like, it feels like Jurassic Park as fuck when they're like landing. It's like, dude, come on, this is Jurassic Park. But then trapped, isolated place. I mean, but that's Evil Dead. That's Romero, that's Prince of Darkness, shit like that. That claustrophobia when you turn the whole world like, I don't know, the fact that the place that they're in is so cold and not inviting, and then once you get outside, it's warm and lush, but you're gonna die because there's nowhere to go. It's like it amplifies everything up by like 100 degrees, and it's really fucking cool. And then you also drop this like hard sci-fi on top of that, and a guy who, Ron Weasley's brother, this weird little dude, and then
Donald
you've also
Gleason.
got yeah. And then you've also got fucking Oscar Isaac, it's just like intimidating ass guy, and it's interesting. And then there's Ava kind of caught in the middle, and there's a lot of like religious symbolism with that and stuff. And like Ava, Eve, like there's a lot of like shit.
There's a lot of great stuff too. Yeah.
Like the faces and the mask and shit. And I was like, dude, this is so like, come on. But ultimately, I'm so close to this being just like an absolutely like perfect movie to me. And I really, really do love it. And it's almost to me like that almost hits that echelon of like Blade Runner. Like it gets so close, but it ultimately it is such a smaller scale and it's such a more personal story. Then, Blade Runner is, don't get me wrong, has some amazing thought provoking content in it. But at the same time, that half that other coin are the visuals of it. That's iconic seeing Roy Batty in the rain with that blood going down his face and the TKD sign behind him. And you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And this definitely has some iconic stuff. And I can see why it was at least nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if it should have been Fury Road. I'm just saying that one's more bombastic and one's more simplified, but they're both amazing in their own right. But God, Fury Road was just like, I guess maybe I'm just like stunt work, dude. And I'm like, well, it's not special effects though, you know?
At that point, Fury Road had already won like 7 Oscars, I think. So the Academy must have been like, look, we're going to need to give it to someone else in this one.
Yeah, we owe Brett Ratner. I'm sorry, we owe Alex Garland one. I don't know where Brett Ratner come from. I don't know why his name popped into my head. Yeah, but the thing about like Ex Machina, and especially with it being, speaking of like Alex Garland, the first thing that he's written and directed simultaneously. I know he wrote like 28 Days Later and he wrote Dread and shit, but this was like, for this to be your debut, it reminds me of like a great band called, The Killers. Their first album was like the biggest thing they've ever done, and now nothing has lived up to that. And I'm like, man, it's amazing what you did, but like now you got to top that shit. Imagine if Nolan's first movie was Inception. I mean, like, oh fuck, like everything else would feel like such a downhill slope. But ultimately, I really do love this movie. I don't love the ending of it. Visually, it's amazing. The soundtrack is incredible. The performances are incredible. I think it should have been nominated for a hell of a lot more than Best Screenplay. I think it was Best Screenplay and the special effects, which is cool. But I feel all around like there's nothing plot wise, there's nothing dialogue wise, nothing performance wise that I really have a problem with until really towards the end, because it's just. We can get to it when we get to it, but I'm like, why? I think a lot of people were doing that too. They're like, why lock him up? Yeah, I think that a lot of people asked that. And I was like, it just doesn't seem, A, that he would deserve that, or B, in her character. It just seems a little odd to me. But I mean, we can cross that bridge when we come to it. I definitely, because
I feel like we have differing opinions on this, and I love it. I love where we're probably going to go into some pretty awesome territory.
Well, we're going to front load this bitch for 45 minutes talking about the ending.
Speaking of front load, there is a review that I just wanted to read out right at the top here. If you're not done with your thoughts. I mean, if you're done with
go. Yeah, I like this movie. I got some fucking problems with everything, so there we go. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, well, this is a review from IMDb because, I mean, look, man, okay, we can both agree that this is a good, if not great movie. Like, it's at least that, right? This guy, man, Leonard Nolan 13755 on IMDb. The title of the review is not good, right? 1 star. And get ready. I'm about to read this to you like verbatim. Also, it kind of gave me a bit of an aneurysm because every word is capitalized. So like everything is capitalized. Like, it's like I don't know. After saw this movie, I think about other film Blade Runner, full stop. Blade Runner is masterpiece, best movie.
It's the full stop that you real quietly were just like, and I think that blah, blah, full stop.
Blade Runner is masterpiece, best movie about artificial intelligence. Hey, he's got a good fucking point there. If Blade Runner, you can see what is consequences if... Stop. Let me get through this, bitch. Let me get through it. If Blade Runner, you can see what is consequences if human make a robot. We see everything and feel everything. Like hope, freedom, evolution. Obviously, the final scene of Blade Runner is remarkable. But Ex Machina can't say anything. It's completely backward. If Blade Runner is 9, Ex Machina is 1. Of course, not course, curse. I think 1 is very good for this film, and I can't believe what movie's going to Oscar name of Best Picture every year. Academy work worst. This movie don't have any acting, directing, writing, cinematography, score, and any new idea. So what is that? In 2001, we saw Artificial Intelligence. The movie can say something. We can see the little David have hope to see her mother. Hope. He wished to be human. Wish and ... But Ex Machina is really have nothing to say. Nothing. Well, okay, dude. I mean,
dude, that sounds like Charlie. That sounds like Charlie Kelly from Always Sunny being like, "Me like cat, me right." It's like, dude, yes. That has to be that review. And not that there's anything wrong with this, is written by a person whose English is like the 3rd or 4th language. Like, that was terrible, man.
No,
like, that's
dude,
really bad.
It looks like he was just maybe like driving and he got Siri to write his entire fucking thing. He's just like talking into Siri, and Siri's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just going to fucking write this and send it.
Siri's like, are you for real going to put this in all caps? Yes, yes, I want the whole thing in all caps.
And fucking Apple's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
That guy talks like that. I would like a large caramel macchiato. he doesn't really talk loud, but he talks with his mouth open really far.
Like, he doesn't talk to you, he talks at you, right?
Yeah,
like
he talks in your mouth. He's like,
yeah. But I mean, like, come on, dude. Ex Machina has nothing to say. I mean, come on, look, you kind of have, like, I can see that you have taste, right? If you're saying that Blade Runner is a good movie that talks about artificial intelligence, then, I mean, I don't know where you went wrong with Ex Machina. This movie pretty much says what Blade Runner says, and in my opinion, goes
a little bit more eloquently.
A little bit more eloquently,
yeah,
right? Like
100%.
Yeah, like, and much more to the point, you know? Like it's much more in your face than Blade Runner is. Blade Runner is a bit more I guess metaphorical, it's a bit more abstract, right? Like I guess that's the word, but like
it's more like style over science.
Right. And that's not taking it away anything for fucking Blade Runner. It's a fucking masterpiece, right? But
right.
This kind of like gets in your face and literally tells you, hey, you're a god who has obviously created, right? And literally you get the word Prometheus. And if you know about Prometheus, then Prometheus, I mean, like, look, I'm not going to get lost in the weeds here. We'll talk about it when it comes up. But I mean, he stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, right? Like that's what we get into. I mean, if you do your research, you don't even need to do a lot of research to kind of like get into what this movie's talking about. Like, like it's not made for stupid people. Like I watched this with my fucking parents and they don't watch, hefty, lofty science fiction movies every day, but they were able to glean from this what this movie was trying to say, right? Like it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's what I'm talking about. Like movies like this fly under the radar sometimes, and then always find their home like later on with like home video and shit like that. Digital shit like that.
Right.
Are you done?
I am done.
Okay, cool. Okay, great.
There is.
Anyways,
whoa.
No, go for it.
And you're probably going to bring this up anyway, but I do like Alex Garland, what he said about this. He's like, I envision this movie to take place about 10 minutes from now. Like we won't be super surprised if Apple or like Google come up with something like Ava. And I'm just like, dude, 100%. And this was 5 years ago.
They'll be like Gapple.
right, exactly.
Here's our new friend, Goople. It's like this real dumb AI. He's like, oh, gosh.
Oh, shit.
Okay, yeah, you got a Disney reference right at the top of fucking Ex Machina. All right, let's jump into this shit.
Let's get into this bitch.
Literally, my notes start, Caleb wins, Caleb rides, Caleb walks. That's it. Let's skip the first 15 minutes of this movie. No, I'm just kidding. So, we see him at the office. We see him winning. Great example of show don't tell with a lot of this movie. You see a lot of like empty beer bottles around Nathan. You see a lot of this stuff, people standing up, people clapping. It's really, really great. I really dig all of this. He rides in the helicopter. Do you know who this helicopter pilot is?
No. Why does he look familiar?
Dude, he is in Hellboy. He's like Hellboy's partner, the guy with the hair plugs in Hellboy, the human like Agent One. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of shit. Like he's a good actor. But I randomly I was like, oh shit, that guy. I don't even know his name. Actually, there's only like by the way, 7 people in this fucking cast. By the way, this is a real easy one. This is not fucking Prince of Darkness where 14 different people to come up with.
Oh my god, 14 characters, too many.
Yeah, Corey Johnson. That's his name. The most unactor name I've ever heard in my life.
Get a stage name, dude. Fuck.
Right. So he says, when are we going to arrive? When will we be flying over? He's like, we've been flying over this bitch for like 2 hours, dude. Like that's insane. That blew my fucking mind.
Imagine, if I don't know if I'm like overthinking this, and I probably am, but I love the kind of sinisterness of it already because he wakes up from like. He's asleep, right? And then, the pilot wakes him up or whatever. I don't know. He wakes up. Do you think he was drugged? I mean,
that would not surprise me if they're like, all right, here is a NDA, and the NDA is actually made of chloroform, and he like,
Well, no, because I mean, how, he's going to know their flight path. He's going to know how they got here, right?
Right.
I mean,
it's like blindfolding somebody before you throw them in the van,
Right. I mean, look, I'm probably looking into it, but I just thought it was an interesting idea to kind of I don't know, because look, Nathan is a bad person. He's not a good guy at all. But
Just kidding.
But look, he is a piece of shit, but he actually is kind of the good guy in this movie if you look at Ava, right?
Yeah, exactly. Comparatively, yeah.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I just thought, like, you know, like, I mean, it'll be interesting if he was like drugged, you know, like because he's got no idea of the flight path, and yeah,
it's weird when they extended the scene and his pants were around his ankles. It was real weird.
Oh, but yes, I love it. Like, sexual assaults already. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes into the episode. 5 minutes, like 25 minutes this episode. Of course it's really fucking Jurassic Park as hell, the helicopter landing and the shit. But the amazing part about this is when it lands in Jurassic Park, it's all, you know, what are those? It's just crazy shit. But here it's the feeling of like, it's so loud and he's so like disturbed by these things. And once it flies off, it's just like, that's it. And you're like, oh my God, you are so fucking out here, dude. If anything happens to you, you are dead. You are so fucking dead. The isolation really works well, like right off the bat. Again, there's no wasted scene. Why do we need to see him being dropped off? Who gives a fuck? And it's like, well, let's use that to build the tension of like, now see how quiet it is out here. Like, I fucking love that. I think that's really badass. And we are introduced to Oscar Isaac as Mark Zuckerberg.
Dude, how fucking rich is this guy to own fucking glaciers?
Yeah, for real. That's why I was just like, I don't know. I mean, because here's what I was like, okay, so he's basically Google, you know, like the guy who invented Google. I looked it up in real life. Google is responsible for 90% of all internet searches. And it's like, dude, the amount of revenue, like however much revenue they generate a year, it's like, but that's like a group of like bald white guys with suits on. It's not this like 27-year-old guy who like, you know, wears a wife beater and hits a punching bag and drinks too much. It's like, dude, they would never leave that to that one dude. But he's like a evil Tony Stark.
Blue Book. Yeah. The company's called Blue Book, which I thought was interesting considering, you know, Facebook's logo is blue and, you know, Blue Book.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like it's definitely, I know they mentioned where it's actually from. I didn't jot that down, but I mean, it's definitely the connotation of like the big blue thumb is like all you can think of. It's like, oh, Blue Book. Yeah, I feel like I know that. I love the meeting here. Hey, you know, you're wigged out. I get it. You know, the ride, the house. You're like, this is so fucking awesome. But can we just like cut through the bullshit and just be like two guys?
It's like, refreshing. It's refreshing how straight up, not. I mean, like, look, he is eccentric. He's an eccentric billionaire, which is kind of like a bit of a trope in movies like this. You know, like. It's a bit tropey to kind of like get the weird billionaire character, but usually they're like so much older. Like usually they're played by like kind of like I guess like James Cromwell or someone. I don't know, dude. Like someone like super
Wayland,
old.
like Wayland Yutani.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of John Hammond, right? I mean, like John Hammond is like he's kind of weird. Like he, you know, goes in and like pops the champagne. He's like already in their fucking house and shit. Like, who the fuck's this guy?
Eldon Tyrell. You know, that guy's kind of weird.
Yeah.
The bartender from The Shining.
Right. and usually they speak in like riddles. Usually they speak in kind of like weird ways. But this guy's like, no, dude, I'm not fucking around with you. Let's just talk man to man. Let's be simple with each other. Because honestly, that's kind of like I'm not comparing myself at all to fucking.
No, that's how I am. That's literally how I am. It's like I don't care, man. I really don't. Like
like it's kind of like it's what they teach you in law, right? Like I mean, because your work is so technical and difficult and complex, blah blah. But when you speak with someone, when you speak with a client, or when you speak to a friend, you should be as straight to the point and simplistic as possible because. Like it's just honestly you need that separation. You need that separation of your complex work and that separation of like your simplicity in your social lives. Like
dispense with the pleasantries. Just like be done with
dispense with the bullshit. Yeah, be done with it. Exactly.
That's what I fucking love. And like, there's so when I recently just like went back to work, there's like nobody in the office but me and like one other girl. And she's really funny and shit, but I could tell she's kind of quiet at first and she was kind of shy. And I was like, listen, I'm going to be straight up with you, girl. You're short, you're ugly, and you kind of smell like shit. And she was just like, what? I was like, I'm just fucking with you, dude. That's just how I fuck with people. And she was just like so caught off. I could tell she was so fucking like caught off guard. But I was like, hey, I'm not any better. I'm fat. I'm bald. And she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, dude, this is just how, like, you break the ice that way. So like, I get it. I'm very like, yeah, I don't care.
Right.
But I
love
like that.
Nathan. I love that Nathan's kind of like he's controlling the flow of the conversation pretty much immediately, right? He's kind of like
Right.
establishing who he is. He's kind of like testing Caleb's intelligence, like pretty much immediately. He's like, "Are you able to do this? Like, are you able to slow down to my level and just like talk with me?" Like, I really,
Right.
yeah.
Well, especially because it's your boss. You know, it's not like if like, you know, I met Stephen King, you know, and I worked for him, I'd be like, oh my God, you know, and he'd probably be like, cool, dude, whatever, you know, I don't really give a shit. But like, I don't know, I couldn't imagine like meeting someone you're just, you know, you know, I don't want to say like, I guess adore, you know, you're like, dude, I love your work and stuff versus like working for that person. I think that's what's interesting about it as well. It's not like just some nerdy, lonely kid, you know, and that's another thing too, is like what you said about him dominating the conversation. You can tell right away just through like Caleb, he's kind of like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Can I put my bag here? Like, like this guy has hemorrhoids, you know, like it's like, dude, calm down. Like you're really stressing me out.
Exactly.
Can we just be two dudes? You know, he gives him a tour of the house. I love the downstairs. He's like, he's like, what's wrong? You're thinking there's no windows in here? Well, there's a reason why there's no windows in here. He's fucking badass. It's not a house. It's a research facility. I love this. I don't care. This is a fucking badass house, dude.
So good, right? So
yeah,
fucking
that is
awesome.
so cool. I wonder where that $15 million budget went.
Well, I also, I mean, like, look, I don't want to keep harping on about Nathan, but I love that he's kind of like he's being so welcoming because he needs to earn his trust, right? I mean, like that's the surface level shit, right? Because like, I mean, like Nathan ultimately, as we come to know, is going to manipulate this guy. Well, he is the Turing test, right? Come to find out. So it's really essential to like for that to work that, you know, that Nathan earns Caleb's trust.
Right. Well, I mean, he's already got this influence of power. Like he knows, I mean, I could probably tell this guy to bend over and touch his toes and he would do it without even asking me. And it's
Exactly.
like, but I feel like, especially once he comes in and he's just like, cut all this bullshit, like that dominant personality just overlaps like everything.
Yeah.
I love he gets him a tour of the house, no windows, research facilities. He gets him to sign the NDA. You know, dude, this NDA. Oh boy. Like, dude, I was like, what's so like basically any oral, electronic, written information to be mined unlimited at all times. And I was like, dude, you're basically like, you might as well have satellites in your teeth now, dude. Like they fucking monitor everything.
Dude, you might as well fucking chain him up and like puppeteer him, like, you know, as like a fucking ventriloquist. Like this, as I'm like looking at this, like this, I'm not, obviously you can't see the NDA, but he's like reciting like the terms and stuff. I am like getting a heart attack, dude, as like a lawyer.
Your
like I'm
eyebrows just twitching.
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, are you going to sign this? But like, it's one of those things where, and it's so uniquely human. But Ava has this characteristic as well. The curiosity overrides the sense of danger. Like, you know, if you see something or like you do a risk assessment and you're just like, you know, there's an element of risk here, but I'm curious to see how it plays out. Like that is such a human thing, you know. It's good stuff.
Yeah, 100. Curiosity killed the cat. You know, it's like you can't not.
Exactly.
You know, and he's like, cool, we can just hang out and bullshit and eat hot dogs, and he's like, or you could look back at a year and really kick yourself in the teeth. So fuck it, he signs it.
Would you? Hold on. Would you sign it?
I mean, honestly, they're gonna get that. He was like, dude, the phone companies are doing it anyways. That's how he mapped all of Ava's shit. So yeah, who gives a fuck, man? Like, you think we're the only two, like, on this video chat right now? I don't think so, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, FBI, how you doing?
Yeah, exactly. They saw your last name is Ali. Yeah, they saw Ali in my phone book, and we're like, hey, let's get this guy.
It's like this guy in fucking Tennessee regularly calls this Australian guy with his surname Ali every 2 weeks, so something is up.
Yeah, exactly. There's just a bang on my door. Like, oh, guys, I gotta go. And yes, no, I would totally do this though. Like, I remember back when we did the Flatliners episode, I was like, I would definitely flatline. Like I have poor judgment in the, execution of like some really cool shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's like, I don't like risk take like driving to work and doing stupid shit. You know, I don't speed, like, you know, not like that, but like, yeah, well, you sign an NDA to meet an AI,
reward, right?
Right, 100%.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, and I think I would do this as well, to be honest.
Well, when the head of Google's like, "Hey, you're gonna see some really cool shit," I'd be like, "Okay, I'm down. I'll do it."
Yeah. I want to see what you're working on, fucking Elon Musk. I want to see what you got.
Yeah, exactly, dude. This guy might as well be. Who runs Google? I have no idea. I don't have any idea.
That's what I thought of, dude. I'm like, okay, like this guy basically created Google.
Right.
I have no idea who created Google. I couldn't tell you offhand who created Google. Yet I know who Steve Jobs is. I know who Elon Musk is. Like
Jeff Bezos. You know, it's like
Jeff
every
Bezos,
we know these names, but
exactly. Who created fucking Google?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like, where did that start? Because I remember when that started. Like, yeah, it's something at gmail.com. I'm like, Gmail. And like, just kind of like G-string laughing. And now at work, everybody's fucking email. Like, I have to send out emails to, like, you know, consumers all day. And like 9 times out of 10, it's a fucking Gmail. And you get that one that's like, yeah, it's at like hotmail.com. I'm like, how old are you? Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, the same thing when I hear AOL, dude. I'm just like, AOL?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Jesus. Here, let me fucking blow the dust off this real quick.
Do you use a fucking floppy disk as well, you piece of shit?
Do you know what the Turing test is? Am I saying that right? Turing? I keep wanting to say Turing. I keep wanting to say turning, and I'm like, Turing test.
Have you seen The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch?
No.
Really fucking good. Check it out. That's
the code cracker one?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, he plays Alan Turing. He plays the guy,
right?
The Turing test is named after, and in that movie, like, we see how the Turing test came to be. Dude, it's such a fucking good movie. And the story of Alan Turing is actually super sad.
Yeah, it is.
It's fucking depressing. But yeah, man, like, I'd heard of the Turing test before this movie, and I was just like totally like, that is such an interesting idea. But there's like the test itself, as they present it in this movie, it sounds simple. Like, it sounds simple, but I feel like there's so many variants and like little intricacies, like obviously that Caleb brings up. And like, I don't know if it's kind of like if Ava passes this test, then what? I mean, like, sure, you've proven that she can think for herself and she's able to fool a human being. But I mean, like, I don't know. Like, did you program her that way? Like, did you program her to be deceptive? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the movie comes up with all these little questions, and like that's addressed. Like, it depends how hard you look into this movie. Like, these things can be addressed. Like, these things can be. You can have a conversation about these things, which we are.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the things. About this whole thing is kind of like, that's what's interesting about when it comes to AI and like, the 3 rules of robotics and the Turing test and Mary in a black and white room and shit like that. You know, like Futurama, there's a great episode of Futurama where, you know, the Santa Claus robot is like killing people on Christmas Eve, and they throw like an irrational problem at him and it causes him to seize up and fall. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. Like, I love that shit.
I remember the first time I was introduced to the Asimov's like 3 rules of robotics was like iRobot. And I was like, man, that is such a cool concept. Like, you know, that a robot can't hurt a human, can't allow harm to come to a human. And I was like, that's so fucking cool, dude.
That's like the fucking RoboCop prime directives, you know? Uphold the law of protecting
OCPs.
Yeah. Except for that they got him with that 4th directive, though, dude.
They did.
Fucking bastards.
Hidden directive, right?
Yeah. So they go over the Turing test. Basically, if you can, if a robot is in the room with you and you can't tell that it's a robot, basically, in layman's terms, the stupidest way I can say that, and I'm saying that for me, not for you at home. Which is interesting too. I would love to see. I think that's really what they would do with an AI. I think they would just put an AI on the sidewalk and just sit at a park bench like all day, or sit at a bus bench and just see till somebody was like, "Are you a blow up doll?" Like, see somebody be like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Exactly, and that is the best way to do it, and that's what Caleb says. Like, like later on, he says the AI needs to be hidden from the person, right? So like, otherwise you kind of like have that knowledge of like, well, this is already a robot. I can see you physically with my eyes that this thing has robotic extremities, like arms and legs and shit. Which is like when Ava walked out the first time, I was like super confused. I'm like, what is the game here? Like, I mean, like, if she walks out with her robotic body, then Caleb's going to, in his subconscious, know that she's not not even subconscious, dude. Like, just literally can see physically that she's a robot.
Right.
But
it'd be one
guess,
thing if she was like all skinned up and shit.
Right.
But
exactly.
it's like
when
that's
she's
so
wearing
weird.
clothes. Yeah.
Right.
So like, but then like I started thinking, well, isn't it even better if she walks out better for Nathan if she walks out fully robotic, yet she still is eventually able to convince Caleb that she is not a robot.
Right.
Like,
Which is basically that's what he says he's basically doing. Like in the next thing he's like, well, yeah, he's like the whole point is to make it like basically it's like fighting right-handed, but then you swap lefty. It'd be like, just for fun, let's just see if we can make you believe, even though you're kind of already down a peg. You just make it more challenging. So we meet, pretty much we're right here. We meet Ava. I love this Ava session 1. There's also 7 sessions, which is kind of like, God created the world in 7 days kind of shit. Like, not that, hey, as we established in Prince of Darkness, there is no God. So I'm not getting into all this stuff, but there's a lot of religious allegory, man. There's a lot of like Nathan is basically God, and then Eva is, Ava is like Eve,
Eve,
Caleb, they're all semi-religious names. Like Nathan and Caleb are definitely in the Bible a lot. Not like, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but there's still Nathans in the Bible and stuff. I can tell you there's definitely no Zohabs.
There's no Zohabs, right?
Yeah. There's no I don't think there's any Collins in the
No, you know what? There was a Zohab in the Bible, but I think he was like fucking shining shoes and shit. I don't really know.
That's terrible. I don't think there's any Collins.
That's going to come back on us.
I don't think there's any Collins popping up in the Quran or anything.
No. It's too what? It'll be Colin Kush or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes I'll come to Zohab with a name and be like, how the fuck do you say this, dude? Like, I have no idea.
Dude, you did that to me last night. You're like, I got to call this customer. Can you tell me, like, I don't know, it sounds vaguely brown. And I'm just like, whoa, what?
I was like, it sounds, and it was like, and I was like, all right, how do you pronounce this name?
Oh, dude, it reminds me of The Simpsons. Kokolash! Get your Kokolash!
Yeah. Dude, I Googled that name before I even messaged you, and I was like, I couldn't find anything on the internet that was like, we don't know. The internet was like, fucking don't know, bro.
Oh, shit. But Alicia Vikander, dude, I love this actress. Yeah. She's fantastic. This is the first time I saw her. She went on to be in some massive movies. I mean, she was in Tomb Raider. Do you know whose partner she is in real life?
Michelle Rodriguez. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
No, she is with Michael Fassbender.
Good for them. That'll be a good-looking kid.
Item. Exactly, dude. Thank you. I'm just like, man, I want to see what your child looks like, which is the creepiest thing I've ever said on the podcast, but still.
No, yeah, it's like, holy shit. Like, and 2 very, very good actors as well. Like, 2 very, yes, so very good. I think that, I don't know.
She's won an Oscar.
What'd she win for?
She won for, keep talking, I'll have a look. But I know she's won.
See, you keep up with that shit. I don't know anything. I don't watch the Oscars. I punched in, like, Ex Machina Oscar, and I was like, oh fuck, I mean Academy Awards, because it just kept bringing up Oscar Isaac shit, and I was like, god damn it.
The Danish Girl. She won for The Danish Girl.
Oh, with Eddie Redmayne?
Yep. Yeah, okay, with Eddie Redmayne. It came out the same exact year as Ex Machina did. So she had a massive year.
Yeah, that's badass. Yeah, so we meet Ava. We see these damage to the walls. The Tree of Life kind of Garden of Eden image, like, that's behind her. And I love that when you first see her, you can't really see her though. Like, it's just kind of like that blurry silhouette of her, and you can't really like see it. And that's what I kind of like, is that it's almost like an indicator of like what you see is not what you get. There's something else going on that you don't really know. I think there's something kind of interesting about like what they first show of her, but it's like, I mean, immediate like science fiction icon. It's like this is there's a great book at like Barnes and Noble that I almost bought about like androids and robots and stuff in science fiction, and it was written by Anna Matronic, and I was like, oh, you clever son of a bitch. It's like, that's cool. But it was really cool, and I was reading through it, and she was on the cover of it, and I was like, of course, because it's like, that's become like the iconic thing now. And there's a lot of really good shit in this movie, too, with, like, reflections and seeing somebody through the glass and stuff. There's so many good ones, but I love that first shot of her in front of the tree, and she just turns her head and looks, and you're like, oh, God, that's so amazing. Good. The silhouette, you're like, what the fuck is that, man?
I wanted to briefly mention, like you were talking about, there's a lot of stuff happening with reflections, especially when it's just Ava and Caleb. And look, I didn't figure this out on my own, but I'm too stupid for this. But I love the idea of Ava interrogating Caleb. Like, you know, like
Yes.
we're supposed to see Caleb going in here asking Ava all these questions, when in reality it's always Ava who's walking around and moving freely, and it's Caleb who is stuck in like that one position sitting down. There is literally an awesome shot that we'll get to a bit later where it's like it's side on. In the middle, you've got the partition. That's the glass, right? So you've got one on each side, and it looks like if you can't see the door behind Caleb, so it looks like Caleb is trapped in the glass box.
Yes,
Like,
100%. I know that shot.
Dude, it's so fucking good, and I think it's here as well. I think I just saw it 14 minutes and 50 seconds. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's absolutely it's so good. A lot of what's insane is just I've always been a fan. I've said this multiple times of movies that take place in like one area, you know, and this is, you know, that's exactly what it feels like, is when you're looking at it and you see her, and from her perspective, he looks like the one in the cage, but from him, he's like, well, you know, I'm the one with the door though, bitch. Like, so what are you gonna do?
Right.
But
and it informs the story too, right? I mean, like who's the one being tested here, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Who is the mouse and who is the cheese? Like that's kind of what I really dig about it. And God, I mean, she's just so this is what's amazing about her performance in this. I mean, she is subtly brilliant, absolutely fucking brilliant. You know, and her tiny little tweaks of the head and the way she kind of does her eyes, it's almost like perfectly human, but you can tell there's just that tiny little brush with like the unnatural, and I really love that. But they get somebody who, like, I feel like this is exactly like Mary Elizabeth Winstead in oh my God, Scott Pilgrim. And that's like, I think when you take somebody like that, and obviously in Scott Pilgrim, she's like the love interest. She's literally a plot device. You know, that's the thing. And I think that it's the same thing in stuff like this, which is not, I'm not saying it's a great representation of women. I'm saying that, like, but when you take those kind of movies and you have this kind of love interest right in the middle of it, and it's this very charismatic, and like it kind of just pulls you in as a viewer. And when you get somebody who is unknown to do that, that's really what I like, is when you get somebody who is like, imagine if they had gotten fucking Angelina Jolie. You'd be like, it doesn't really, you know, but when you have this person who I'd never seen her in shit before, or any of these people, really. I'd never seen any of them before. And I was like, this is movie. That's what really sucks me in about movies like this that are kind of same thing with Upgrade, same thing with District 9. It's like you take these lower budget movies and stick people in that I've never seen before, and it really kind of pulls me in.
See, Oscar Isaac and Donald Gleason were in Star Wars the same year together. I'd never seen Oscar Isaac before, but I'd definitely seen Donald Gleason as Bill Weasley in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Donald Gleason, and I was like, you fucking idiot. And I was like, oh, Domhnall. That's Scottish as fuck.
I think it's pronounced Donald, Donal, like Donald.
Yeah, you tell me that guy doesn't know how to play a set of bagpipes. Huh?
Dude,
you tell me
like
that
eight kilts in his fucking closet.
You tell me that guy doesn't have Braveheart on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray.
They will never take our freedom.
You tell me that guy doesn't struggle with alcohol. No, I'm just kidding. It's terrible. I'm so Scottish. It's terrible. It's so bad. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. So, you know, they kind of talk back and forth. They get to know each other. I love this. He's like, yeah, so I guess we need to break the ice, you know? He's like, do you know what that means? Yes. It means to overcome. And like her responses are so quick. And you're like, oh shit. Like this is really, you know, I've watched some videos of like AI. There was one on like the British version of like the Today Show. I can't remember what it's called, but they have an AI on there who drew the host. But it's obviously a robot, you know, it's nothing like Ava. So that's what's interesting, is seeing this. But yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when I watched this. Like, this is like not even 10 years away. It would not surprise me off. This is in like a bunker somewhere, you know, with like flood panels all around it in case this thing crawls out and chews its way to the surface, you know, like there's some kind of like kill button next to this thing in real life.
Absolutely. I got a quick question for you. You talked about like how close she was to being, you know, like a real human girl, but she's got like kind of like really subtle tics about her that are a bit robotic. Do you reckon that's intentional on Ava's part? Like, do you reckon she is doing that as a part, like to somehow fool Caleb to, I don't know, because I feel like it would go against like what she's trying to achieve, like, which is escape, right?
I think it's maybe a secondary factor of the primary factor, which is the performance of, I keep wanting to say Vikander. It's like, is it Vikander?
I think it's Vikander. Yeah.
Vikander. Okay. I think it's mainly just a kind of a performance, choice, I guess. But at the same time, I can see where it's kind of. But I think they slowly fade out though as the movie goes on.
Yeah,
and she gets a little bit more advanced. Like there's a time where she's like, "That's not the good basis for a friendship," and she kind of squints, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that's very. It was crazy because I know I'm watching this human woman portray a robot trying to be human, and then as I'm watching it, I forget that she's actually a person, and I'm like, "Oh shit!
Right.
Wait, that's an actress." I was like, "Fuck!" That really like fucked me up, man.
Dude, 100%.
I don't get lost in the movies like that anymore. And when it happens, I'm like, oh, this is so good. I enjoy it so much.
Total immersion. One of my favorite parts is like the ending of this scene when Caleb says, he's going to come back and they'll talk again. Her face like lights up and she looks like really kind of like pleased, like that he's going to come back and talk to her a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you kind of like take the ending into account because she's not really pleased, right? She's kind of like subtly luring Caleb's, I guess, affection, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, she's, very obviously at the end, like manipulating him for the reasons can be debated. Are they good reasons? Like, are they, I don't know. I think there's a middle ground to me that like, I don't know. We'll get into it. But what she remarks, this whole conversation, she said she's won. She remarks that it's odd she knows how to speak naturally. She's like, she hopes Caleb will come back tomorrow. I like that things don't go like balls deep into like intellectual crazy shit. Like they brush up with it, but it's not even a 5-minute meeting. It's just a few minutes of footage. And it's like, oh my God, but immediately they have your undivided attention. It's great. The next day, how does she make you feel? Well, at first I thought it was just crazy. It was like stoic and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, listen, I can't tell you how she works.
Fucking relax, dude. Like, honestly,
right.
Like, let me whip out my big nerd dick, right? And like flop it on the table. But I love,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I think you were just about to say literally what I was about to say. I love how, Nathan shuts it down and he's like, dude, I don't want to talk to you about the specifics. I just want to ask you how you feel about her. Right.
Well, and I love Oscar Isaac's performance where he's believably arrogant, but also kind of like, oh, you simple-minded. That's just kind of what he comes across as. But also Caleb, I mean, his extreme intellect, the incredible. The system is, staccato, whatever it says, like staccato. Yeah, it's non-deterministic. And at first, I thought she was mapping from an integral semantic from a synatic freeform. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, like that's so heavy. But the great is as it's closing in on Oscar Isaac, and you can see him like kind of getting pissed. And I think he's kind of like, don't let the genie out of the bottle. Like, yeah. I can't tell you that kind of thing. But I think that is such a subtle thing where you can tell he's like, fuck, this dude's smart. Like he knows what is going on. He looks kind of like almost panicked, like, fuck, okay, I can't go into this.
I'm also wondering, and like this is again another layer to fucking Nathan, who's a great fucking character. Do you reckon that he's also really wanting to talk simplistically with Caleb because he kind of wants human connection? Like he kind of wants an actual like one-on-one conversation with someone else. Like he's got no one else to do it with. Like that's why he kind of like drinks. He's a loner. Like, do you reckon he literally just wants to sit down, have a beer, and like converse with someone?
I think if it were just for social reasons, like no. But I think that again, the primary reason is for the shit that he's been, it's his life's work. But the secondary reason is like, and if I can hang out with somebody, it's cool.
I get that vibe. Yeah, I get the vibe that he's like he's kind of killing two birds with one stone here.
Right, but also knowing that eventually this relationship will absolutely dissolve because if everything goes the way he says it's going, she will actively deceive him and he will actively deceive him as well. So it's kind of interesting. But it's a great scene though. I just love that he's like, how does she make you feel? I do think he wants simple. He's a very and you don't have to get complicated about stuff. Keep it fucking simple, and I love that. I feel that she's fucking amazing. That's such a great line. He's like, says through the looking glass, very Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland, yeah.
I gotta say, I know the Tim Burton movies are not great. Okay, one of those is actually kind of good, and I like it. But I think those were called like the Looking Glass Wars, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds amazing! Like war and Alice in Wonderland. I was like, that is fucking cool, man. Like Matthew from LSG has always said, an R-rated Star Wars movie, and I was like, I've always wanted an R-rated Ghostbusters movie, and now I want Alice in Wonderland like fucking war, dude. Like that sounds so cool, dude.
Well, I've never seen either of the Tim Burton movies. Oh, well, actually, I don't know if he directed the second one, but like anyway, the Through the Looking Glass was the title of, I think, what is kind of like universally known as one of the best episodes of Lost. And like, every time I hear the words like Through the Looking Glass, I just think Not Penny's Boat, and that's all I'm gonna like think about.
I've never seen it. I've never watched that.
You know what, man? Like it Lost went off the rails a little bit, but man, like it's still got some of the best character development in any TV show. Like I will just like put that right out there.
Word.
Do you want to just quickly mention do you want to talk about Nathan's drinking problem?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's subtle, but even here when they're hanging out, like Caleb's got his beer, there's already an empty bottle in front of Nathan, and you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, but I think it's one of those things where it's like the mad tortured genius turns to, he's supposed to be an amalgamation of like Kubrick and somebody else, like that Oscar Isaac was putting together these like conflicted kind of geniuses, which I don't know if I'd say Kubrick's a genius. No, I'm just kidding. He's pretty good.
Look, it's problematic. It's problematic. I mean, like, he is recognized as one of the greatest directors of all time, but I don't really love him as much as a lot of people do, but
no, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I don't know, that's a whole other podcast though. Like fucking Clockwork Orange is so disturbing that I've never watched it more than once, and I'm like,
but The Shining, dude,
yeah, but like if that movie scared me so bad and bothered me so bad that I never wanted to watch again, that means he did his goddamn job.
Effective.
Like that means he's fucking killed it.
I wanted to briefly mention, I find the drinking really interesting for Nathan, like kind of like being Nathan's downfall, because it's such a, like, getting drunk, being affected by alcohol is such a human issue, like such a human complication. Oh, dude, and like while I just said that, fucking my Siri just switched on, so we just fucking you can fuck off. But yeah, like I think it's interesting because it's just such a human complication that brings him down. Like, this guy who's like spent his pretty much entire life, he wrote the code at 13, whatever. And is brought down by something that affects him humanly.
Well, he's got to have some kind of flaw, like maybe arrogance a little bit, but like you have to have some crack in the wall for Caleb to get leverage into. At some point you've got to. It's a good flaw to have. It doesn't seem completely random. It seems kind of like, I know a lot of people that are just, fast-paced people, blah, 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 blah. But then when they come home, they're like, I just want to smoke some weed and chill out and turn my brain off. And I'm like, I get that. I wonder, his brain probably runs at such a different, probably higher capacity where he's just using his, constantly all day. I think that's why he also enjoys, like, give me the simple shit, because my brain is just doing this all the time. Like, let's just cut through the bullshit a little bit.
But does he drink because, I mean, like, let's find out, like, figure out why he drinks, right? Like, he doesn't obviously drink because he wants to chill out with Caleb. Like, he doesn't drink socially. I think, does he drink because he's lonely? Like, does he drink to pass the time? Like, is that a thing? Like he's here by himself with his work, like, pretty much all of the time. So does he drink because, it takes him to a different state of consciousness and he doesn't have to worry about work?
I think it's all about self-control and self-medication, to where it's like, he drinks all night, but then the next day he's just pounding it out on a heavy bag, drinking antioxidants and stuff, and hey, just brown rice and mineral water. And it's like, man, that's just from one extreme to the other. It's like it's like it's like hydroplaning on the road and you just jerk to the left and then jerk to the right. And it's like, no, you've got to like balance that to keep your car normal. You know, it's like you can't just overreact. You have to be proactive and not reactive, and realize that you don't need to just cut drinking out completely. You know, you just need to chill off that shit. And it's the same way, you know, then of course when he does it, he just drinks like a fucking fish. That's really what I think it is. I think it's about self-medication, self-control, and trying to keep himself kind of sane and then also keep himself fit at the same time. You know, it's like it's this weird progressively but also self-destructive tendencies.
Like a
very
balance,
strange.
right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Caleb is a peeping Tom, by the way.
Caleb, you know, like he visits the old, you know, like the porno theaters where they just kind of have the curtains up, and he's just like, you know, whacking one out.
That guy's left arm looks like Popeye. It's just this huge fucking arm.
Oh my god, dude! I think this is the second time I'm bringing this up, but like, do you remember the Family Guy thing where Quagmire discovers porn?
Oh yeah.
And he just
had that one huge arm. He's like, hey guys, he hasn't really slept.
He's like, I just been checking out some of that internet porn. And he's like, I'm gonna go get my mail over there. And he lifts up his left arm. It's just fucking.
I'm just tired. So he sees, you know, Ava's room. It's really interesting because we literally watch her cut the power, but we don't know that she's cutting the power. It just looks like she puts her hand on the wall right when it happens. It's like, oh shit, that's real. Oh my god, that's right in front of you. It's so good. Oh yeah, because of the power failure, everything goes on auto lock. Caleb goes to use the phone. He doesn't have authorization. Nathan, like a fucking creep, up there in the dark drinking alone. It's like, dude. Jesus Christ, man. But he's so good. I love that. He's like, who are you going to call? He's like, you know, it's Ghostbusters. Ghost gives Dan Aykroyd oral sex.
Yeah, this is also when Nathan says pretty like in an uncommitted way, right? Like that I'm working on getting the power fix. Like, dude, if you are so secretive about your work and you're such a technological genius, like if I was Caleb, that would bring up red flags for me, dude. I'm just like, you're having constant power cuts. Like, you know, that is like, hey, that is suspicious.
Well, I think it's also where Caleb says, he's like, I think after the first power outage, Caleb was like, there's no way, if this guy, again, is such a control freak, there's no way he's not recording me in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just like, right. So I think that's like a big thing about it as well with the power outages, where he's like, there is, I can't remember what the test is called, but where it's basically like the observation test, where if you know you're being watched, you act differently. So I think he just keeps that, like, he doesn't drop that curtain at any point where he knows he's not being watched, you know?
Like you have subtle like differences. Like if you know you're being watched, you have like subtle differences in your movements and the way that you think.
No, I mean, I don't give a fuck. No, I'm just kidding. He goes back to sleep. Kyoko wakes Caleb up. This woman out of nowhere, and it's like, whoa, the fuck? Like, it is kind of startling because you're like, whoa, like, who the fuck is that? And she's great. I don't know. There's something so, even though somebody who has like no dialogue and is like a robot, she doesn't really emote all that much, but she's still a really cool character. I don't know why. There's so much mystery behind Kyoko, and I think that's why. It's just like, and her fucking dancing and shit. And I'm like, does she really like to dance, or is she just kind of like doing this to please you, or like how does that work? I think
the way the actress chose to play her, dude, it looks like she's in constant pain. Like, you know, it looks like, you know, if you were to tell me that someone possessed, like the devil possessed a human's body and is controlling the human's body, like that is the look I would imagine her face would be. Like, it's just constant pain, constant like, why am I doing this? I don't want to be doing this. Like, you know, it's like constant discomfort. Right.
It's like it's like wearing a shirt that's one size too small, and you're like, like I can't really like,
And yeah, every time I see Kyoko, dude, like I feel pain for her, dude. Like I feel sympathy, and like, you know, I should, like, that's I guess the test of the movie, right? Like she's a robot, I shouldn't feel anything, but like here I am, right? Like she's got that.
Well, they're not people, you know.
They don't have rights.
Well, yeah, that's the you know, and because you know Kayla, or you know that Nathan's into some fucking weird shit. Oh, so dude, she's had to, God knows what she's had to like put up with.
Does some weird pile driver move on her every fucking night.
Yeah, some weird, crazy, like let me put a plate of oranges on your ass and jerk off on Swiss cheese, like some weird stuff.
Let me put you in my fucking punching bag.
yeah, you can take it. Kyoko wakes up Caleb the next morning. They kind of talk of chess, computer, simulation versus actual. Look, do me a favor. Lay off the textbook approach. I just want simple answers to simple questions. Yesterday, I asked you how you felt about her, and you gave me a great answer. Now, the question is, how does she feel about you? Interesting. I dig that. I like the whole, I think, well, if it's this, but it must be that. And I think that's what you want me to ask. And he's like, no, just fucking chill. Like, just be yourself. It's really interesting, but he doesn't know. Again, it's all to make him drop his guard. It's all to keep bringing Caleb up. Like, don't try to be my intellectual equal because you're not. Like, just be yourself. Like, just chill.
Well, it's interesting because, like, what I was talking about at the top of the podcast, I was like, the Turing test, it's the idea of it is simple. You can explain it in one sentence, right? Like the AI passes when it can convince a human that it is not a robot, right? Like that's the simple explanation. And I think that's how Nathan is approaching it, right? He's just like, I just want that question answered. Whereas, like, Caleb is taking my approach where I'm like, well, hold on. There's like different, like there's different little complexities in answering that one question, right? And like
there's
Nathan's
a lot of stuff to consider.
Yeah, there's so many things to consider. And like Nathan's like, well, no, like I don't think there is. I think there's just one question, you can answer it, and that's what I want done.
Right, but it's one of those things where once you let the genie out of the bottle, if you had kept, like, because Kyoko, I was kind of surprised the first time I watched it. It's like, oh shit, so she's an android. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised, because I've seen that there are other ones, but it's still kind of like, whoa, okay, well, I guess that actually makes sense. But, I, as a viewer, was not 100% that she was a robot. I was pretty sure, but I was like, okay, wow, that's kind of nuts. So I don't know. Personally,
dude,
I think
that got my mom. My mom was like, what?
your mom just starts screaming and crying.
She had to look away when Kyoko's peeling off his skin at the end, dude.
Yeah. No, there's definitely, some of that shit is like, we cut to Ava's session 2. Ava shows Caleb her drawing, but she doesn't know what it means. But she does draw every day. She asked to be Caleb's friend, wants to know more about him. I'm interested to see what you'll choose. I love she throws that back at him. That's so good, dude. But that what he says later on is so great, where that's like, in order to do that, she has to have some kind of awareness of me proposing that to her. And I was like, oh, that is so fucking good. Like, God damn it, I love that shit. Like, that is the type of sci-fi that, like, I live for. It's like a serial killer knowing that they've done something wrong when they try to cover up a body. It's like, no, you threw something back at me because you are aware that I said it. I'm like, that's cool. I dig that, man. That's really, really smart. And we kind of learn about Caleb here as well. Caleb, parents died in a car crash, grew up in Portland, Oregon, no siblings, no wife, no girlfriend. Yeah, no family. Parents died in a car crash.
Hey man, I guess you're fucking Batman, right?
Right, yeah, exactly. He got into coding after the car crash.
Nathan. Like, that's important for Nathan's background check, like that this guy has no one in case he goes missing, or however he wants to dispose of Caleb if his plan goes through.
Right, exactly. Not married, no parents, got into coding after a car crash. We see some of Ava's humanity, that's good, where you can see her face very subtly. What's interesting is when you rewatch this, and she's like, I'm at the scene right now where she's like, she's like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a programmer. She's like, an advanced programmer like Nathan. And he's like, well, kinda. And you can look in her face and she's kind of like
disappointed.
Yes. There is a look of like, fuck you. And I love that, because I think that there's, I don't know, is it Ava going to kill this person no matter who it was the whole time? Basically leave them to die. Not directly kill them, but leave them to die. Is that the case, or does she decide to do that later on as the movie progresses? I think that's something that we'll have to like sit on the back burner and think about towards the end. That's where I kind of want to like pick that up at. But I think that that's a great thing of like, would she have done this regardless, or was it a choice that she made that like this person doesn't deserve, or blah 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 blah, whatever her reasons were? Was it something that would have happened anyways, or was the character of the person a factor in that? I think that's interesting. Just put a pin in that for now, but I think that requires some chewing on, and we've got like 2 hours of movie left. No, I'm just kidding.
It's interesting.
I know you want to say something so fucking bad. You're looking at me just like rubbing your face and like scratching your ear and like, he wants to so bad. Anyways, so he seems, her eyes seem a lot more sinister. After that, Caleb likes Depeche Mode. I love Depeche Mode, actually. I fucking love Depeche Mode. That's one of my favorite bands.
Well, why didn't you start a podcast with him then, Colin? Fuck you.
They actually just released like a free live concert today or something. I can't remember. They have some kind of contest going on, but I was like, oh, badass, dude. They're still going. Yeah, he likes Depeche Mode. Ava asks if Nathan is Caleb's friend, and then, of course, we have another power outage. Ava warns Caleb not to trust Nathan. He is not your friend. Do not trust him. That's badass. That's... the plot thickens. What the fuck is going on?
Thickens, right? Like, I mean, obviously, this is all planned, right? Like, this is the Grandmaster Daddy, fucking Nathan's like whole thing. But again, like if you're watching this for the first time, you're just like, whoa, what? Like, Nathan's not your friend. What?
Right.
And then like I can't remember what I was thinking the first time I saw this movie. Like, I had an inkling that like she was trying to escape. Like I knew pretty much immediately that she was the one causing the power outages. That was not a surprise to me at all. Like, but I couldn't remember what I was thinking the first time. Like she was like what she stood to gain telling Caleb that Nathan is not his friend. I mean, like I kind of like had it. I was like, man, maybe I don't know. Maybe Nathan brought him out here to kill him. But I mean, like it's too simplistic, man. Like that's not the kind of movie that this is.
Well, is she telling Caleb that because now, as him being the only other person she's met, is she developing something where she's like, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I should tell you something, because God knows how Nathan has talked to her to have this guy come in who's kind of like, hi, it's nice to meet you, and like be nice to you.
Yeah.
When the only other person has been ugly, it's kind of interesting. And then, tells him not to trust Nathan. At dinner the next night, Nathan's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my God.
Dude, calm down, bro. Fuck.
Hey, just, take a chill pill. And
it's like Peter Griffin. He's like, hey, no. That's all. I was like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, again, anger issues, control. Like, I mean, it's very, a lot of them go hand in hand like that. Like people who have like,
he kind of reminds me of someone who is a little tightly wound. Like I get, like, I mean, if you're the builder of something as massive as Blue Book, you're constantly worried. You're constantly paranoid about, someone finding out about the top secret shit that you're working on. I guess that you'd be, tightly wound, blah, blah, blah. And that might be why he exercises. Like, that might be, like, I mean, that's why I exercise, honestly. Like, I exercise mainly to lose weight and, like, whatever, look physically like goddamn fucking Patrick Bateman. But,
yeah.
But, I mean, like, I in my opinion, like, as I have found out more and more that I exercise, I stress less. Like, I stress less about like what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. So like that's why I do it.
Well, then there's times where like, man, I just feel like shit. I'm like, if I go to the gym for half an hour, I'll feel amazing. That's all I need to do.
Exactly.
It's like if on a rainy day or something, I'm like, fuck, I just need to go hit some cardio. It freaks out at dinner. They discuss Ava's ability to be aware of Caleb. I like the whole thing where he's like, no, it's fine. I got it. He's like, dude, she doesn't speak fucking English. He's like, which is great, because trade deals and stuff. He's like, but she also can't tell when I pissed her. He's like, Kyoko, go. I'm like, oh, what a fucking dick. So they discuss her throwing the joke back. Caleb said they didn't really talk about anything during the power outage. He is a terrible fucking liar. And this is the first time he really lies to Nathan. And he's so bad at it because he's like, what happened during the power outage? And he takes a bite of something. And he's like, what? Yeah. He's like, the power outage. Like, what happened?
I like it because I think obviously, him being a bad liar, but also Nathan picks up on the fact that he's lying. Like Nathan knows immediately that his plan is going to, it's coming to fruition, right?
Right. No, 100%. You can tell he's a terrible liar. Jesus Christ, man. You got to be quick. You can't ask people to repeat stuff. You got to keep eye contact. You don't shuffle around a whole lot.
You need to get a law degree.
That shit. Yeah, exactly. You need to be a debt collector. No, I'm just kidding. So the next day, Nathan explains how to. This is where they go downstairs and they're kind of showing the how Ava came to be, which is interesting because he's like, I can't tell you how she works. I'm going to show you everything though, but I can't tell you how she works. I like the scene. It's not bad, but I don't really need this, I guess. It's just interesting, him talking about how he tapped into everything, how he tapped into the phones all over the world.
I like that. I like the fact.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is entirely realistic to me that that the creator of Google was able to tap into every phone on the planet and use that data to feed it into his artificial intelligence that he's building, and the phone companies are okay with it. That is entirely realistic to me, which it should not be realistic to me. That should be such a lofty science fiction concept, but in 2020, that is entirely realistic to me, dude.
Right. No, 100%. Like,
I mean, the end user agreements that you're constantly signing up to and pressing I agree to these terms and conditions, that is all in there. That's all in there. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. It's just one of those double, I might go down, but you'll go down with me type thing between him and the phone companies and stuff. And one thing that I actually do like about the scene where he's like, see, my competitors, they only cared about social media, shopping, ads. He's like, I didn't really care what they were thinking about it. I wanted to know how they were thinking. It's like, that is cool. Like, nobody knows why you're thinking about, I say the color orange and you're all of a sudden thinking about, who cares? But how did that happen? I was like, that's cool. I dig that. Ava, session number 3. Ava says she wants to go people watching if she could leave. Ava shows Caleb what she would wear on their date, and she confronts Caleb about his feelings for her. She admits that she hopes he's thinking about her as well, outside the test and stuff. What did you think about this first kind of, now we're getting deeper into the level of like, she goes, this is where she puts like the wig and stuff on, and she actually like, and dude, Vikander with short hair, smash, fucking smash, dude, super fucking smash.
See,
oh my god,
this is the difference between our taste in women, because I am all about I'll do the smash when she walks out, like when she's got the long hair and shit, dude.
I mean, but don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, she's beautiful, just an absolutely beautiful woman. I could totally see this being, I would love to see a short film conversation between her and Joy from 2049, like Blade Runner 2040. I would love to see them sit down and like talk to each other. I think she's obviously more advanced.
You need to watch her. You really need to watch her, because I mean, if you put Scarlett Johansson's character in that movie and Joy from 2049 and Ava, I think that would make for a fantastic fucking film, dude. Like, honestly, just so good.
I've always wanted to see like Bishop from Aliens and Roy Batty from Blade Runner sit down to talk to each other. You have two people that are basically the same, but on total different ends of the spectrum. I think that's so interesting about, I don't know, two incredible performances, two of my favorite sci-fi performances. I just wish, a man can dream.
What do you think about Ava's choice of, the first place that she will go if she was permitted to leave? Like the traffic intersection where she could people watch.
Yeah, it makes sense, because it's kind of one of those things where if you've never done something before, a lot of people have the tendency just to go, balls deep into it. I think that, obviously with certain exceptions. Sorry, I couldn't fucking think of the word. I was totally just like blanked, because I was like, well, what's a bad thing to jump into head first? Cocaine, an empty pool, like shit like that. I was just like, but that's what's interesting about it, is I think that she just wants to be dropped right in the middle, A, to absorb, but then B, also to disappear and see that she can sit in this crowd of people and people not notice her and just be like, I'm just like anybody else out here.
But what drives that? Is she curious? Like, I'm wondering, because like if she's curious, then that's a very human thing, a very human characteristic to have, right? Curiosity.
No, she's definitely know more. Yeah. I think that. I think that it's the thing with Mary in a black and white room, like color. The color is people, and she has seen and heard and listened and saw so much stuff. Like, have you ever read The Giver by Lois Lowry?
No, I've heard of it. That's a movie, right? It's a movie too.
Yes. I never saw the movie, but I think the book came out in like the early night. Great fucking book. I've got the audiobook. I'll send it to you. Cool. But it's the same thing of like, it's a society where they don't have kids physically. They don't see color. There's no like real like love, like, you know, all the families are like assigned to each other and shit like that. But there's, you know, they pass the memories on from the giver to the receiver. And even though he's never experienced these things like having sex or doing any of this stuff, he knows about it. So it's kind of, it almost makes me think of RoboCop when he's like, they're talking about his family and he's like, I can feel them, but I can't remember them. That's one of my favorite lines in any movie ever. And I think that's what's kind of interesting is she's like, I can remember them, but I can't feel them. She's like, I've never felt that before. Like how awful it must be to have a head full of experiences that you've never had. Like that's like, I think that it's her being like, I want to go because I don't know. I can tell you, I can try and summarize what it's like and what it's about, but I can't really be 100% sure because I've never experienced that. It's so it like had me like fucking just like stumped watching this. It's like, that's incredible. I think that's so cool how she has so much shit, more knowledge than any thing walking on two legs has in the world, but has never stepped foot outside this wall. It's fucking incredible. I think that's so cool.
Absolutely. Like that want and need to learn more. Absolutely. What, dude, one of the things that I really wanted to point out is like when she's picking out the clothes, when she's specifically when she's picking out the wigs, it looks like she's trying to, like she's making a conscious decision as to which wig to select. Like, you know, she's kind of like, you know, running her hand over each one. What do you think the thinking is behind that? Because like, that was really interesting to me. Like, she's a robot. She should just be able to be like, this is the wig that I want. You know, like there should be like no taking the time to consider which wig to put on. So, I mean, like, that is one of the only sequences in this movie that really, truly stumps me.
I think it could be either because first impression's a big impression. So it's like, what do I know about Caleb that Caleb would like? You know, what do I think on an educated guess? I think that's part of it. But I also think that you can look at it either one of two ways. Either it's the first real chance that she's had of like expressing herself, or everything is deliberate and used as some kind of ploy to get him, you know, to get him on board. I think that it's definitely possible either way, but I think it really comes down to that. What was her choice in doing it, you know? Because obviously, like we're talking about, does she really make the choice at the end? Was this person going to die the whole time, or did she choose to do that off of what she saw? So is it the same way? Is she choosing something based off of what he likes, or did she already have something in mind? I think it can kind of go either way. I think that's the beauty of it, is that they don't answer that and they kind of leave it up to you. It's just like, because it breaks down, is she creative? Is she actually like that, or is everything more deceptive in that way? You know, because if you think like that, it makes the ending make a little bit more sense if she's that deceptive.
Well, it's interesting to me because like when she goes to pick out the wigs, she is completely unobserved. Like Caleb can't see her like pick out the wigs. So she's not like putting on some kind of like theater. Like she's not like putting on some kind of like, I specifically chose this thing like to trick him into, like, you know, that there's a lot of thought put into it. But I mean, at the same time, we have to like remember that Nathan specifically made her look attractive to Caleb, right? Like he based her on her porn searches and stuff. So I mean, like, again, I'm still like I can't come to a conclusion as like, because like I know Alex Garland threw this in for a reason. I just don't know what.
I think that it's a strong indicator that Caleb's porn searches are Natalie Portman's short hair phase after V for Vendetta. That's definitely, and I gotta say, I can't blame you. I can't fucking blame you.
Boner peeping through there, you piece of shit.
Good God. Especially got that fucking awesome pixie cut. That's a drilling pixie cut. But she straight up calls him out. She's like, you know, the way you hold my gaze and the way you don't, the way you hold, you know, your look on my eyes and my lips and stuff. And he's obviously extremely uncomfortable. And she flat out says, she's like, you know, this is what I would wear on our date. I would like to go on a date with you. Do you think about me when we aren't together? You know, she's fucking dripping right now. It's ridiculous. Looks like there's like motor oil all over the floor. She's dripping
fucking
like,
diesel.
Yeah. And she, like I said, she hopes that he is thinking about her as well. At the end of that session, I guess this is the same day, next day, Caleb and Nathan discuss Ava's sexuality. Nathan explains that Ava does indeed have the ability to have sex. Caleb confronts Nathan about having Ava programmed to flirt with him. What's your type? Of girl? No, salad dressing. Nathan explains she was programmed heterosexual and uses the Jackson Pollock as an example. Well, not as an example of heterosexuality, but you know what I mean. What do you think about this in between? Because I like Nathan being like, and you know, you're kind of getting on my nerves. You know, he's like, you're starting to annoy me. And it's like, I like that he's kind of honest about that. Like, dude, you're pissing me off, you know? Like, this is not everything is about you, but it is. Like, you totally did map this person out. Like, that's kind of what I get using her sexuality, but if it's a true test of like her using sexuality on someone, but you catered this to this person though, it seems like it's a little bit too in your favor. You know what I mean?
No, that does make sense. Like there is a little bit of bias happening, like because he's the one who engineered this situation,
right?
Like, but I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. There's not really that much of a defense for that, to be honest. But like, look, I like what's happening here in this conversation because I'm actually on Nathan's side here. Like Caleb is totally insecure. Like Caleb, like the way he talks about, you know, like I was not programmed to be heterosexual. No, like. That is like kind of like his insecurities coming into it, dude. He's like, no, like he's like, I was not driven. I was like not driven to go this way. And Nathan's whole thing is like, well, yeah, you are like a robot. You were programmed.
Right. Exactly. Like that's just whatever your predispositions are, whatever my affinity for women with short hair is. I cannot explain that to you by any shape, form or fashion. You know, I have absolutely no idea.
I can't tell you why I like Michael Bay, but I will try.
Yeah, I'll try and explain myself. Yeah, and what do you think about his kind of example with the Jackson Pollock?
The
I
automatic
think that there's something interesting. Yeah,
really interesting, dude. Like just the way that it's like, you know, like Jackson Pollock would paint automatically, and if you took away that automatic element of it, it would be too calculated. It would be too. It'll be too predetermined, like, you know, like, but like the automaticness of it just is so like what I'm doing right now. I'm having a hard time explaining it because the automatic part of it is the part that you cannot explain. It's just human instinct, right?
What? Yeah, it's like, why did you pick the white shirt over the blue or the gray or the black? Like, why? You know, it just whatever, because you felt like doing it that day. There's so many, especially with being like, you know, just being human, there's so many different variables with that. You know, you might feel better today than you did yesterday or worse. And there's so many different variables to change with that. And that's what's really interesting to me. And I love what he says, the balance between what was natural, like what just came automatically and what was deliberate. You know, that fine, he let his mind go blank and his hand go where it wanted. Not deliberate, not random, but someplace in between. That's fucking cool. I really dig that.
He's using this analogy to explain that Ava's attraction to Caleb is real, right? Like he's saying that, look, the AI acts of its own accord. It's not a predetermined like plan or anything like that. Like I think that what she has for you is legit.
Right. It's basically like what kind of agnostic people like, yeah, there might be a God or maybe God did create people, but there's no divine intervention. You know, like I've always kind of thought, well, that's plausible. You know, that kind of serves both like, yeah, you're right. There is a God, but like, there's not like, you know, this is not, our life is not a, you know, heavenly D&D game where people roll dice and we fight monsters. You know, it's like, you know, because, you know, there is no God. I'm just kidding. The interesting thing.
There is no God.
Yeah, there is no God. As we cut to Ava session 4, Caleb starts with the Mary in the black and white room. I had to fucking read about this shit. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? You know, I really dig this. I dig the whole thing about Mary in the black and white room, where basically it's kind of what we got into earlier. You know, you have your whole life, you studied something that you've never experienced. That's basically, you know, it'd be like having, you know, I'm trying to think of the right, it's almost like astronauts where you've trained how to do something, but you can't really do it more than a handful of times. You know what I mean? But they've trained their asses off in simulations to do it. It's kind of like, you ever seen Deep Impact? Not the porno.
Not in a long time. Not in a long time.
Right. But Robert Duvall is like, even though he hasn't trained, he's landed on the moon. And none of these people have ever been into space before, but they've trained. So it's kind of, I think that's interesting versus like, I don't know. There's an interesting kind of trade-off there that I really like. That's basically what I took away from Mary in the black and white room. Like, what did you think of this, like, analogy?
Well, I mean, like, it definitely explains the end, and it explains the reason why Ava, like, the first place she would want to go is a traffic intersection, right? I mean, like, if all you know is the color black, then you're going to, when you step out of that room, you're going to be like absolutely blown away when you discover that there's a whole spectrum of colors,
Right.
It's a really interesting analogy, and I think it 100% applies to Ava for sure. I was like, yeah, again, I'd never heard of it as well before the movie. Like, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about, dude? Like, this is such a weird concept, but it 100% encapsulates Ava and like what drives her to escape, why she wants to escape. Like, sure, that Caleb has no idea that she wants to escape at this very moment, but like it explains so much the reasoning, like Ava's reasoning to get the fuck out of here and explore the rest of the world. Like, when she gets out, she looks at a world that's teeming with life. She looks at the jungle and she's just totally enamored by it. And like that, to me, dude, I smiled. I'm just like, man, like, this is
right,
literally what they're going for.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you. So he kind of talks to her about Mary in the black and white room, and he just lays it out. He tells Ava he's there to test her, which she does. Dude, this is a standout scene for Vikander. Like, it is amazing. That is so good. Another power outage hits. I love that. Ava tells Caleb that Nathan tells lies, but she is the one who is causing the outages via her batteries. Actually, no, I'm actually one more. Not quite. Let me wait. Which one is this? Sorry, I have all the sessions like broken up in my notes, and it's like so hard to keep track because there's like fucking seven of them.
So session 4 is the one that
right.
tells it.
Session 5 is the one that I'm like fucking so hard for. It's so good. And we'll get to it though. We'll get to it.
No, but
it is cool.
Session 4 has that really good shot. I think it's 51. I'm paused on it. 51 minutes 10 seconds, and it's literally a side-on shot, a profile shot of like Ava, and then you've got the glass partition in the middle, and then you've got the profile shot of Caleb sitting there in the glass box, and it looks like if you had no context and you were asked a question, who is the prisoner, who is the interrogator, I would like without hesitancy answer that Ava is the interrogator and the prisoner is Caleb.
Right. It's all about like perception, because when it cuts to his point of view, she's back behind the glass, But yeah, I absolutely love this. This whole scene is really, really, really good. And we find out that she is legit the one causing the power outages. She can, I wonder where her batteries go. I was just like, there's not like an Xbox, clip on the back. You just pop it open and knock those bad boys out.
I'm sure it's like built in, like PlayStation ones where it's like, you can't replace the batteries. They're just like, you just plug in a wire and it's all inside. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that. Nathan tells lies, and she's the one who's been causing the outages. What do you say? Do you want to take a break here?
I need to piss so fucking bad.
Okay,
dude.
Cool. Yeah, no, we're good. We're pretty much. I mean, we're like an hour into this bit, so now's a good time to.
Yeah, we're about halfway.
Right, now's the time to get squeezed. Guys, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Coming at you with the second part of our coverage of Ex Machina. Hello, everyone. Breaking into the middle of your feature presentation episode. It's just the first time for me actually jumping in on the mid-roll, so fingers crossed. No, guys, we're just here to jump in. If you want to find us on any of our socials, we're on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. There's a group attached to that called the After Party. Everybody's invited. You can find us on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature or Twitter at MDF Pod. We're also on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. You can find us anywhere that you guys get your podcasts. And please stop by and rate, review us on iTunes. Give us those 5 stars. Let us know how we're doing. Or if you have any requests or any constructive criticism, midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Currently, we've got some stuff kind of cooking in the pot. We've got, Zohab's had quite a few guest spots lately, and we've been doing some cool shit just kind of behind the scenes. There's some stuff coming up soon, just a little teaser. We'll just leave it there for now. But I got to turn it over to Zohab because we do have something we can actually tell you.
Yeah, we do have something that we can tell you. And I mean, look, you're not going to know. I mean, look, I guess if you listen to the podcast, then you're probably going to know. But the best way to keep updated with this that I'm about to talk about is being on our socials that you just mentioned. We have t-shirts coming. I'm so excited that we have t-shirts coming, dude. Like, never in a million years did I think we were going to do merchandise. Or like be able to, that I would like wear my own shit, but we're at the final stages of our testing phase for that, and we should be ready to roll out really, really soon. So if you guys want to get some Midnight Double Feature swag, that's coming your way real soon.
Awesome. Well, guys, why don't we jump back into this movie? Thanks for listening thus far. We'll see you on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Coming at you with the second half of our coverage of Ex Machina, because we are freshly squeezed, as we always like to say, dried up like the prunes. No, I'm just kidding. We're jumping right back in here with this kind of hike that Caleb and Nathan are going on. This nature hike that just looks like they climbed to the fucking top of Mount Everest. Like, this looks like a fucking 15-mile hike that they just pulled off.
Dude, it looks like seriously, they're like lying by like glaciers and stuff, and I'm just like, what? You own all this?
It's like, if you look over like 10 feet, there's fucking Duncan MacLeod and Ramirez from Highlander like training. Like, it seems like they're way fucking out there. But this is where, Caleb's like, listen, this is bullshit. I didn't win anything. I was not randomly selected. You could have had some fucking idiot show up. You selected me. And Nathan kind of bullshits him here. He's like, you're right. It's because you're smart. It's an honor. You shouldn't look at it as like deceptive, blah, blah, blah. Kind of trying to spin it when it is deceptive and he has been chosen for a reason. But it's like every time Caleb gets close to the truth, Nathan kind of has this like little, yeah, you're right, but for a good reason. Like he's always like kind of,
he's always got an answer.
Right. You caught me on my bullshit, but bullshit for like a good reason. But he's honest about it. He's not like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. He's just like, you know what? You figured it out. Cool. Good for you. I like that. He does actually respect him to some degree, not to just like bullshit him, and deny it. He owns up to it. This is an amazing.
But like, it's kind of like half truths though, right? Like, I mean, because
right.
He admits that he chose Caleb to come, but he also says it's because you're one of the most talented coders in the company. But that's a half truth. Right. Like, he might be a talented coder, and like, Nathan later admits that he is not the smartest, like the best coder.
Right.
Like, he's like,
you're pretty good.
Yeah, he's like, you're pretty good. So he's kind of like giving him half truths, like to push him where he wants to go, and like kind of also making Caleb aware that Nathan is somewhat deceptive, but at the same time being truthful at the same time, right?
Right. Well, it's a half truth, half lie, where it's like you're still getting what you want, but I'm getting what I want. Like you might still have more information, but I'm still the one in control.
Right.
It's an interesting dynamic. Right. This scene is amazing. The next scene coming up where, after they have like their, Adventure Time hike, these kind of flashes of Nathan with Kyoko, and then we also see what's interesting about the kind of juxtaposition between these is we see Nathan and he's like in full color, and he's punching this bag, and there's Kyoko, and he kind of gets sexually engaged, but we see like it's all physical, it's all carnal, the punching bag, the sex, like blah blah. But then when we cut to Caleb's thing, it's a romantic black and white thing. But that's what's interesting too, is just like it's black and white to, I think, also to symbolize like too, like this is extremely like lonely. This is like the robotic way this guy is looking at this kind of like quote unquote love that he's like feeling. And it's not sexual. It's not, I want to fuck her brains out, like blah, blah. Like he is there, he's like fully clothed, like just kissing her. It looks like the front of like an indie album cover from the early 2000s. It's like, it's not this like real carnal, sexual dream stuff that he's happening, I just thought it was a really interesting kind of cut between the two of them.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, because like it's such a good way to show you how these two men approach artificial people. Like, you know, for Nathan, it's like, you know, I just want to take Kyoko and just fuck her. That's it. Like, that's all I want to do. Whereas like, fucking, oh, goddamn, how am I forgetting his name? Caleb. Like Caleb, the way Caleb approaches Ava, it's so thoughtful. It's so, you know, there's like thinking, there's feeling behind it. Like it's very beautiful. It's very, you know, it's not as aggressive as like Nathan's one is. You know, if you look at Nathan and the way he, you know, finishes the punching bag and then turns to Kyoko, he literally takes Kyoko's hand and like puts it to his face. Like, you know, there's like that whole forceful action of like Kyoko not wanting to be a part of this, but she has to because she's programmed this way. Whereas like for Caleb, it's like I'm approaching Ava. It's these really like wide shots that look really, really fantastic. But like what Ava and I have, it's consensual. Well, what he perceives as consensual. Like take away the whole, you know, Ava wanting to manipulate Caleb element of it. But essentially, on its face, it is consensual, you know?
I wonder, I mean, because you know that Nathan's just raw dogging it, you know, and not pulling out. It's like, is there some kind of like...
You don't get
is there like some kind of like... Yeah, is there like a filtration unit on these things? Or like how does that work?
like there's a button that you press and the fucking cum just drips out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a Keurig. After that, Nathan rips up Ava's picture and the fucking dance floor. God damn, dude. Oh, my God.
Holy shit, dude. Like, how... He might as well be in Michael Jackson's Thriller fucking video. He is so good. So good.
Well, just not self-conscious at all. Just total... they're amazingly synced up, like the two of them. It's so good. But it's so... Like, what the fuck? This is dark, and, you know, she's obviously not that into it, or even if she is, you programmed her to really be into it. So either way, it's kind of, like, dark and fucked up, but at the same time, it's, like, so awesome. Like, as you're watching it, like, dude, this is a badass scene. And, of course, you know, he's fucking drunk as shit. Like, the hard cut to them walking down the hallway, and he's like...
Yeah.
He's, like, fucking, like, sick.
Well, I don't want to go past... Caleb, like, you know, trying to have a conversation with Kyoko, right? And Kyoko's only thing is like, I'm just going to remove my shirt because that's all I know what to do. Like, you know, it's kind of disturbing, man. Like, it's super fucking disturbing, you know?
Right. Well, it's like, yeah, that would be awesome in the right context. You know, this is not the right context.
Yeah, you're a fucking beautiful woman. I'm just going to put it out there, Kyoko.
Right. I would love to have seen Nathan send her, like, I want you to try and introduce Caleb and see how Caleb would react knowing that he has feelings for Ava. Would he be like, no, like, I'm spoken for, you know, like, what, like, oh, there's only one robot woman in my life. But of course, you know, they stay up there kind of drinking, you know, he gets totally sloshed. Oh wait, is this where Caleb takes Nathan's key card, or is this where he just drops it and gives it back to him?
So this is where, yeah. So after the dance floor scene, you get the whole like he drops it and gives it back to him. Like Nathan goes and collapses on his bed and shit like that.
That's right. Okay, I get these two confused because there's like a lot of similar shit. So. But you know, he's looking and he's like, oh yeah, they're just closets. There's definitely not like a Dahmer. Definitely not like a Dahmer pile back there of just fucking bodies, you know? It's just crazy knowing he's that close to all of those just bodies in the drawers and the closets and stuff. It's extremely weird. Yeah, we cut to Ava session 5. Ava is testing Caleb, calling him out as he lies about favorite colors and past memories. But things go dark as she asks him about the ramifications of her failing his test. This is the shit that I fucking love. This is such good out of Ava.
She also brings up, like, you know, don't lie to me because I can tell that you're lying, the micro expressions and all that stuff, dude. Like, what a uniquely robotic characteristic to point out to the person that is testing you to see whether you're going to pass as a human. Like, you know?
Right. Well, there's something so interesting, too, where he's like, yeah, can we just stop this? This is not. And she kind of stops for a second. She's like, no, like this is important. I really dig that. And her whole response is you can see her getting fucking mad. And what about you? Why is it up to anyone? Do you have people that test you and might switch you off? That is so reminiscent of what Roy Batty says right before he grabs Deckard. It's just like, painful to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it means to be a slave. And you're like, that is so strikingly similar to what is going on with Kyoko and Ava. I love that she's like, do you have people that test you? He's like, no. She's like, then why do I? And it's so fucking good. And she shows him the ripped up picture. Such a really, really, really great scene. I absolutely love this, and seeing her actually get kind of like mad about it is just amazing. Another outage hits, and she asks Caleb if he wants to be with her. That's so good. And then it just cuts away, like doesn't really show exactly what happens. It's so good. The following morning, Nathan says his next model will probably be the one, admitting it will essentially erase Eva. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Oh, that Oppenheimer quote, dude. Fuck. Such a good quote, man. Such an insane.
It's
like, and we didn't really talk about it. Like, we kind of went past it. The whole, how inflated Nathan's head gets when Caleb says, "Oh, you are God." Well, he didn't. He's like, I didn't really call you God.
Right.
But it's just like, he is so ego driven. Like, he is just so like driven and fueled by ego that he's able, because like, he is the smartest man in the room. Like, there's no doubt about it. But the fact of it is he knows that. Like, he's just such a piece of shit who is like, I know that I'm the smartest man in the room and I'm not afraid to show it.
Right. Well, that like literally the drunk on power and then the actual being drunk on a substance, it's interesting. Yeah, and I love the whole thing. He's like, there you are, Mr. Quotable. He's like, yeah, that's not my quote. That's what he's like. Yeah, Oppenheimer, dude. I know. And
I love
that. There's something where it's like, yes, it's condescending from Nathan, but it's also kind of condescending from Caleb to be like, oh yeah, you don't know that quote. That quote, like, dude, I know that quote. You knew that quote. Yeah. Like, we're not tech geniuses. Like, that's pretty common knowledge, but he's like, Ava, she doesn't exist in, continuation even more than, than you or I. We have, version 9.6, 9.7, 9.8. Super interesting scene. It's really good. I like this a lot. This is where Nathan, afterwards, he gets stinking drunk, and Caleb steals his key card, leading to some horrific discoveries on Nathan's computer and in his room.
My God.
Holy shit.
Oh my
Holy
God,
shit.
dude. This is like filmed like a horror film, dude. I love it. It's just like the way that the music ramps up. We didn't talk talk about the score for this movie, by the way. Score for this movie and the way that it ramps up in moments that that Alex Garland needs it to is just absolutely fantastic. And this is where, other than the end, this is where it's most memorable to me, man. Like, just the way it kind of like overtakes everything that you're seeing. It seems like you're watching a Carpenter flick or a Wes Craven flick where the volume of the score is just ramped up and adds so much horrificness to what's going on and what's playing out on screen. And like, what we should be, like, I'm watching this with my parents, and like you just said it. Like, you just talked about the whole how horrific what's playing out on screen is. But again, they're just robots. Like, like the fact that we have an emotional response to how, like, what Caleb is watching and what he is seeing on screen, like the fact that we have an emotional response to that is a testament to the movie and Alex Garland's achievement in making us feel sympathy for these robots, which we shouldn't. Like, I mean, like, I don't feel sorry for my computer because it doesn't have a fucking face on it.
Right. Yeah. I think there's something interesting, like, something that is not self-aware is, it's hard to kind of feel that, does even though I talk to Siri or I talk to Alexa, they're not alive. They don't know. They're programs, versus this. It's like, I am conscious of the fact that, like, I can feel fear. Like, I can feel these things. Like, once we start to it's the same thing. It's almost like with animals, it's the same thing. A lot of people are like, well, there's not quite, yes, but it is an aware animal and aware of people and surroundings and has needs and wants. And especially when you make something that's that advanced, like these robots, I mean, I think it's a given that they're going to have, some kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word. a different viewpoint and different motives and actions than they're programmed to be. You can't, if you make a toaster, that's fine. But if you give her a toaster free will, it's not going to be a fucking toaster anymore. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't make this like all knowing sentient AI and expect it to stay in a room. Yeah, it's not going to work. That's like stupid to begin with. And I think that's a big reason why, he's out here, because if this thing fucking does get out, good luck getting off the island. There's no way. Even if I die, you're not getting off this island. You're gonna die as as an AI. And of course, there's also the scene with Kyoko where she starts peeling her skin off and shit. This looks like the Asian Aubrey Plaza. That's like all I can think of now. God, she's such a smoke show, though.
She is. And you know what? Like, again, like what I was talking about, like how we feel sympathy for the robots. Again, I'm watching this with my parents, and fucking Kyoko's splayed out live here, like fucking, like naked as naked as the day, like the day she was born. Like her vulva is just like out.
Yeah.
And like, my parents are like, whatever, like, we're all fucking adults, but they're like, they just kind of like turn away because it's awkward, like the way she's like lying down. And I'm just like, I literally turned to them and I said, okay, she's a robot and she's a robot. So why do we as humans feel naturally awkward and uncomfortable? Like, like she's not someone who is embarrassed about the fact that she's out here in a birthday suit, like she's someone who has no, I guess, sensitivity about that, like she doesn't give a shit. So why do we give a shit?
Yeah, it's like I think with Kyoko, it's a very different story where, but does she give a shit? Because at the end, she totally conspires with Ava. So it's like to some degree, to disagree with you to like some degree, I don't think that's true, because there is something in her that, she fucking stabs him. It's like there's got to be some kind of like motive in there where it's like, I want the fuck out of here, man. I'm tired of being a fucking, a glorified fleshlight. I want to get the fuck out of here. Because I think that once Ava is invented as well, and then you bring in Caleb, it's like, okay, something is like not right here. Like we bring in someone who's a little bit more centered, I guess. Like, but I think it becomes interesting once you add Caleb in the mix, because now you give them even just a taste of what the outside world is like, and it's like putting blood in the water. They're gonna come for that shit. I don't blame them. I would too. I think there's something interesting. Like, no, once something becomes self-aware, and once something knows, I am something that exists in a society with others, and I can help or harm or build or destroy or blah, blah, blah. That's when it becomes tricky with like destroying that person. Because if you're self-aware, you are aware of a possibility of destruction. And I think that's what's interesting about that is like, if that's the case, if there is a fear of death, then that I consider to be like, if you fear some kind of death, then I think that kind of gives you more of a conscience, which Ava definitely, she's like, I don't want to die. It's like that's what's so interesting about that is like, she doesn't want to die. These other AI literally like broke themselves to pieces just trying to get out. It's like, holy shit, and how old is Ava? Is she 1 day? Is she 1 week? Is she 1 month? She just says 1. So you don't know how long on that timeline she is before she just like cracks her head open like a fucking omelet, just banging up against the door. I think there's something interesting about that. The fear of death with that comes with, if you don't fear death, if you're like, no, I'm a program, then it's like, well, yeah, fuck you. I don't care, but I think there's something interesting about her fear of dying in that, especially with the scene that's coming up after, he's and Nathan awakens just as Caleb comes back. He gives him his card, acts like he dropped it on the floor. And then, holy shit, with like Caleb, what did you think about the scene of him cutting his like flesh open and shit?
Dude,
I don't know if I need it. I didn't hate it, but
I didn't hate it. I actually love the idea of like him going absolutely so haywire and paranoid that maybe he's starting to consider that he is a robot as well. I actually really, really love that. And like, I love that, like, he's not able to sleep at night. Like he's seeing Kyoko literally peel off his skin. By the way, dude, like that close-up shot of like Kyoko like staring at, it's got like the metal, like half metal, half like skin.
Scary.
Fucking horrifying, dude. But yeah,
try fucking that.
Couldn't get it up. But like, I just, dude, I don't need it because it's not fully fleshed out in the film. Like, it's like there's no previous scene to indicate that maybe like Caleb is a robot, like a Westworld
Like
kind of
he's cracking
situation.
up a little bit.
Yeah, there's no kind of like Westworld situation where you're not, where Caleb is like doubting his own existence. Like there's none of that. So I don't really like need it, but I am kind of glad it's in here because it makes for some fucking horrifying imagery. It makes for some horrifying thought process. Like, because honestly, if you are Caleb in this situation, if I'm going here to do this Turing test, if I find out that Kyoko, someone that I've interacted with a couple times, if I find out that she herself is a robot, then I'm going to be wondering. Like, I will honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's a realistic idea. Like, honestly, that he's kind of doubting his self-existence. I don't need him slitting his vein that deeply. I mean, I'm pretty sure just a cut on the edge of your fingertip will tell you that you are a human. I don't really know about that, but yeah.
Go for like the shoulder. Why are you going with the arm, man?
Yeah,
you can hit a vein, and he goes down the lane, not across the road, and he cuts right out. Like, fuck,
But
dude.
you know what? Like when he's looking into the mirror before he does slice into his wrist, did you notice like the static kind of effect that the mirror has on his face, like as he's like looking into his
yeah.
Because that effect comes up right in the first scene of the movie when he's looking through at his phone.
Him.
Yeah, when he's looking at his phone. So it's like like what that says to me is kind of like Nathan has been watching him all along. Like Nathan's been playing and manipulating him all along, which we know that he has, but it's still such a great visual idea of like playing that out.
Right. No, 100%. I think there's something, now that I think about it, how crazy would the movie have been if it were like, you are the Turing test, she is an AI, and you are a more advanced version of that AI. Like, oh shit. Like, I don't know. It would kind of be one of those things where like now you can't believe anything. There's like no solid ground to stand on anymore, It's cool. It's a cool idea, I think. It's kind of like the idea that Deckard is a replicant, but he's like a Nexus 8 or 9 or something, you know, like he's like so much more advanced. I love Blade Runner 2049 because you just know that K is a replicant.
Oh, yeah,
cool.
First scene,
badass.
like we know immediately from the first scene, like right after he takes out fucking Dave Bautista's character, we find out immediately, like, within cells interlinked, like we know immediately.
Yeah.
So I like that Denis Villeneuve didn't go for the whole like is he, isn't he kind of thing, but like here I think you're right because the whole movie's centered around the Turing test, and I love the idea that maybe maybe Nathan is doing the Turing test on him.
Right, yeah, but doing it to him without having him being an AI is like, okay, cool. I like that. That's neat. And yeah, Ava Session 6. Pretty much as soon as they get in there, he's like, hit the switch. Caleb lays down the plan. I'm going to get Nate drunk. I'm going to get his key card. I'm going to reprogram the security and open the doors right after Ava triggers an outage. It says be there at 10 o'clock sharp. And the red light too. We haven't said that either. It's such a great visual.
Good, right?
Just so crazy.
So good. Like such a good representation of like something sinister, like, like something being planned, like something like
the
that.
Fear.
Right. Yeah. And something like not supposed to be known. I love it. This is right here is the fruition of the Turing test. Like this is the scene where we finally see that, Ava has been able to manipulate Caleb and the Turing test has worked. Like she has passed the Turing test.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All those seeds have come to fruition. Caleb's plan, off to a bad start as Nathan actually turns down a drink. Brown rice and mineral water for me. Okay, that's you can see, when he's like, you don't want to drink, and he's like, no.
I love it.
You're like,
I love
man.
it. I just love how casual he is, dude. He's like, you want to drink? Knock yourself out.
Right. It's like in Misery when Annie Wilkes knocks over the wine with all the pills in it, and you're like, no, fuck.
Yeah.
Things turn a little weird when Nathan proposes that Ava is merely using Caleb as a means of escape. It's really interesting, too, because Nathan is, like, very thinly veiled being a dick, and he's like, what happened about the chess problem? What about that? Oh, well, yeah, I mean, she must be pretty awesome then, huh? And you're like, dude, this fucking jig is up. Yeah. And you can see him sipping on the vodka, and he's like, how's your vodka? He's like, you're a fucking bastard. It's like, where they just cut the bullshit, and, like, in this scene when they're in the kitchen, is it supposed to be known right here where it's like, so now Nathan is aware of your plot, or is it supposed to be afterwards when he shows him the footage?
No,
because I took it as kind of here.
I think it's here. I think it's here. Nathan knows because Nathan has been building up to this point. Nathan has been building up to the whole thing last night where Ava officially asks Caleb, or Caleb rather, officially tells Ava, "Hey, I'm getting you out of here. You know, like this is the plan. I'm getting you out of here." Like Nathan has been building up to that moment for the entire film. Like, you know, he's been building up for Caleb to offer Ava a way out. Like, you know, so the fact that it's happening, the fact that it's like come to fruition, Nathan's like, all right, so you're going to go behind my back. I knew that this was coming. I planned this all along. And I think he kind of like brings down the appropriate measures, right? Like that for that plan not to work. Like he's like, I'm not going to drink because I know exactly what your plan is. So here you go.
Right, 100%. I think there's something interesting as well.
Like sorry, Colin.
No, you're cool.
There's no consequence. Like, there's no coincidence. Sorry. Like it's all planned.
Well, then he starts acting really weird when like, you know, he's not trying to be a good liar right here. He's trying to be actually kind of like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what's up. And it's really interesting too when he's like, man, he's like, your head, she's been fucking with you, man. Like it's, you know, it's cool. And he's actually surprisingly, you know, dude, I get it, man. She's been fucked with your head. That was the point. That's the whole point. You know, he actually kind of feels sorry for him. You know, come here, I'm going to let you off the hook. It's kind of like wrapping a kid on the knuckles and sending them on their way kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I love, and then Kyoko meeting Ava, that is who are you? I'm like, oh my God, you haven't met this person? Like, it kind of blows your mind when you think about it. Like, dude, she's been there since Kyoko we see Kyoko before we see Ava. And that's what's interesting is when they finally meet, and it's like these two powerful, I don't know, female AI. I mean, like, who are you? And they're kind of like sizing each other up. I think that's so fucking cool.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, sorry, just jumping back to Nathan and Caleb in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because Nathan is going to let Caleb go. Like, you know, Nathan says, look, hey man, the helicopter's coming here at 8:00. You know, it's your last day. Like he's going to let him go. Like I fully believe,
right.
At this point, I fully believe that Nathan is going to let Caleb go. Like now that he knows that the test has worked, like, you know, it's all gone to plan, blah, blah, blah. What Nathan wasn't counting on was just how determined Caleb was to get Ava out of there. Like, you know, like it was just how smart, because obviously he underestimated Caleb. He underestimated Caleb because Caleb was able to do this last night. Like Nathan miscalculated the human element of someone caring for another person, or rather a robot, that he thought he was able to control this. He was like, all right, well, look, you know, whatever. I'm going to spank your ass on the way out. Like, you know, have a good one. See you later. You're gonna fly out of here on the helicopter. But he wasn't relying on just how much Caleb actually cares for Ava.
Well, also, I think two things. Like you said, he completely underestimates him. I mean, more so intellectually, but it's not even like an intellectual thing to be like, I think that Caleb's like, you're a control freak. There's no way that I'm taking the chance of these blackouts being caused by her. You know, this could all be, I don't know what's up from down now. So I think that once he sees the footage and sees all these AI killing themselves to get out, he's like, I can't take that chance. So what's really interesting about it is A, he underestimates him, but B, at the same time, what's really interesting about, like you said, like the human element of that, there's something really interesting about him thinking that, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it, that Caleb is not smart enough to catch on to Nathan's patterns of self-destruction. And that, you know, Nathan could not take the chance of him. Yes, more than likely he'll have a drink, but, you know, I have so much little to control. I have to do this now. I don't have time to wait. I think there's something interesting about what exactly, you know, maybe Caleb isn't as intelligent as Nathan, but the paranoia is like that's something that he's like, I'm paranoid that this person is looking at me based on their actions and what they've done thus far. And it was like a very good fucking guess. Like it was a very educated kind of paranoid guess, but he was right. You know, just because you're, what is that saying? Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. And as a guy, like that's such an interesting quote to me. I've always loved that. I love that Nathan plays Caleb the audio with the video of the picture ripping. I love Ava. Is it strange to have made something that hates you? Very, oh my God. Very fucking paternal kind of shit, very parental type stuff, man. That's so, oh my God. I mean, you can go into analogies for days about how, a lot of people have turned their back on organized religion, or a lot of people don't even, believe in God. Like, those numbers go up and up as the year happens. People are like, oh, we're living in a godless place now, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's an interesting kind of like very plain thing for it, but there's so much meat on the bone with that sentence.
I don't know why the first thing it reminded me of was Game of Thrones. Just how much like Tywin Lannister hates Tyrion Lannister, because when Tyrion Lannister was born, like the mother died of childbirth, and Tywin's like, you killed my wife because you were born.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't fucking watch Game of Thrones. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. No, yeah, there's something interesting about that. And like, if you've ever had like a conflicted relationship with one of your parents and be like, yeah, we don't really, it's kind of interesting being like somebody you're supposed to be so close to, and you're like, man, I wouldn't know what to say if I were stuck in a room with you for an hour. So interesting. Oh, yeah. So Nathan reveals his hidden camera, battery powered, of course, and the private conversation between Caleb and Ava, showing that Caleb was the real test, the cheese in the maze, so to speak. I love as they're playing, and he's like, turn it off. Okay. He just like turns it off really quick. And he kind of, is like, hey, man, I get it. That would have been a really good plan if it actually had worked. And the power goes off, and he's like, oh, it must be 10 o'clock. God, to see Caleb looks so defeated, and he's just like, yeah, I guess we'll have to see. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, I knew you were watching us. He's like, so I did everything last night. And then the power comes back on, and Nathan's like, oh, no.
So good.
Oh, no. Like, the whole time you were fucking sitting in that fucking bubble of gloat, and you were just like, like all of the doors were opening up. Like, the irony in you celebrating when it is like your fatal stroke is so fucking
counting your chickens before they hatch, dude. I love it.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's fantastic. Oh God.
I think both actors here are just absolutely fucking stellar, dude. Like, honestly, like Donald Gleason and Oscar Isaac are just top notching it here, man.
Right. A frightened Nathan runs to his computer, only in horror to see empty rooms and open doors. He cold cocks the fuck out of Caleb and runs downstairs to find Kyoko and Ava together. I want to know what they're talking about so fucking bad, dude.
The idea of like two artificial intelligence communicating between one another. What the fuck? What are they talking about? She's like, you go low, I go high. Like, but like, like Kyoko is like just a sex robot. She's just like, hey, are you saying that we double team him? Like, what do we?
Yeah. Well, and because it's Ava the one to have to kind of get in there and like initiate it, get the fight going. And what's cool too is that she's not this, she's not a Terminator. She can't just grab its throat and crush it. It's like she actually is she's hollow. She's glass. Like there's kind of like a fragility to it. I think that's interesting because he just crushes one of her arms off with a fucking barbell, and you're like, oh my God. Getting stabbed though is. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, before we do get to the stabbing, I don't want to go past just how much time Alex Garland spends on Ava looking at the evolution of the faces on the wall. Like, it's like if we look at a photo of like a chimp or like a monkey, like, it's just like literally acknowledging your evolution, and it's just such a masterstroke, dude.
Right? Yeah, there's something, and I mean that's like the fucking cover art of the movie is her kind of looking at the mask and then turning over. It's like, oh, that looks so good.
That's actually the cover art that we're going to be putting in the after party.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, and it's like you said, it's her looking at the, oh wow, that's my face, but then also being like, I've never stepped foot outside a room, and here I am looking at like my ancestry. Like that's so crazy to think about. Of course, the fight ensues. We're pretty much winding down here. Nathan gets stabbed. He's way too calm about. He's not like like I would just be vomiting.
Because what does he say when he's like walking away? He's like, "Oh shit, that was crazy," like something like that. It's just
yeah. He's kind of like, "Oh no," like he's like in total denial about it.
There's a back and forth here that's really interesting because when Nathan confronts Ava and orders her to go back to her room, she says, if I do, will you ever let me go? Like, do you, like Nathan says, obviously yes, right? But like, obviously, like Ava's using her lie detector skills here, right? Like, but I mean, like, I don't think if she said even if he was telling the truth, like she wouldn't go back to her room, right?
No. Well, I think that she knows that there's no way he's just going to be like, you know what, we'll let you go, if you just come back and blah, blah, like that's all bullshit. I think that's her being like, yeah, this is crap, and I know this is crap. But yeah, just the way he gets stabbed is just, oh my god, the knife goes in just so.
It looks like butter. It looks like they're cutting through butter, and like I would imagine that's how it would be. Like the robot is not going to feel like resistance; they're just going to keep pushing,
Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're pretty much like the end of this is like, I mean, we're like a few minutes away. We're like 4 or 5 minutes away from the ending here. Basically, I mean, let's break it down. Ava goes and puts gets her arm repair. I guess goes and gets a new arm, and she kind of takes bits and pieces from like all the old ones. There's something interesting about that as well, is taking bits and pieces from the failures to add up to this monumental success. Like I actually really like that. I think that's cool.
There's something there's something just on that point, Colin, that we never talked about, and it's really basically a modern retelling of it. Frankenstein, like right? Like I mean, it's basically Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's monster escapes, kills his creator. And something that was actually really interesting, and I remember this from school actually when we did Frankenstein. The original title for Frankenstein was The Modern Prometheus. Which again, Prometheus stole fire from the gods to give it to man. Like the whole creational element of it, and like how creation can only belong to the gods or God. And it should never be tampered with by man. And eventually, man's creation ends up killing itself. I just really don't want to go past the whole Frankenstein element of it all.
No, absolutely. I mean, literally making your body from pieces of dead people. That's so you can't get any more like on the head than that. And yeah, I like the whole she kind of looks almost solemn as she's taking the pieces from him. She's kind of like, fuck, sorry, man.
This needs to be done. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So, she kind of builds herself up. It's so great when she actually puts on like the suit and stuff. Like she looks like she's about to be fucking like president. Like there's something about that suit that's like, I don't know. It's so, and she looks so interesting with the long hair and wearing all white, and the kind of like the redemptiveness of the white. It's just so absolute, but she tells Caleb to wait as she gets suited up and I mean, literally suited up. And then she leaves Caleb. She locks him in behind and gets on a helicopter and gets the fuck out of there as Caleb panics and tries to release himself. So let me ask you this. When I'm literally just kind of like pushing around the end of this movie. Like I'm, it all kind of spirals to like this end point. So if there's something specific you want to like jump into, we can do it. But him going for the power and putting Nathan's like thing in there and trying to use it, and it just shuts everything down. It's like, or is he using his badge in Nathan's computer and it shuts everything down? Like what happened? I assume he has Nathan's badge, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, wait, what do you mean shutting everything down? Like when he
goes to the computer, he puts that badge in, and it just and everything powers. He's like, no, because I think he's kind of getting that thing of like, oh, I can just go in here and hack this computer and possibly get out of here. And then once he tries, it actually like shuts everything down.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. Yeah,
right. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, I just didn't understand exactly. Did he use his own card instead of Nathan's and it shut everything down, or was it Nathan's card and she pre-programmed? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I'm thinking that she tampered with the. I mean, like when she, how she's able to do the power cuts. I think that she's able to do a little bit more than just power cuts. I think she's kind of like integrated into the system of the house somehow.
That'd be interesting. I could see that. Yeah, and she fucking leaves Caleb behind. And what's so crazy, and I don't know, I might be reading too much into it. There's something interesting about the line that Nathan says earlier, and he's like, the AI will look back at us as cavemen with tools pounding on whatever. And then Caleb literally has a stool trying to crash the fucking window, the door in. But they're, I guess we're pretty much here and we see Ava. Obviously, she somehow convinced the helicopter, pilot to give her a lift. And she makes it back, and I think there's something interesting where like, is this supposed to be like Chicago where she's standing in front of that big reflective like beam,
The
you know,
Bane,
that like that big thing?
That's what I thought.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, that's pretty much Ex Machina, but
We're about to have an argument.
this is what I
We're
was
about to
talking
have an
right.
argument.
So, first things first, what we kind of teased earlier, would she have killed Caleb regardless of who it is, like left him behind to die, or did she make that choice based on who he was? Because remember, she's asking him, like, are you a good person? And she never actually says, like, lie or truth. She's just like, she just goes on to the next question, which is an indicator that she thinks he's telling the truth. But is that, 100% answer from her? You know what I mean? Like, do you think she would have done this, man, woman, no matter who it was?
I do, man. I mean, like, I'm kind of in the camp of, like, she had a single-minded goal throughout this entire movie, and she achieved that goal. I don't think that she, whether it be Caleb, whether it be someone else, and if that person did answer, yes, I'm a good person, and, like, she assessed that they were a good person, I don't think that she would. I don't think that she would take someone else with her, like when she escaped. I wholeheartedly think that she is 100% determined to escape out of here by herself. The entire film, like I don't see anyone else walking out with her. Like, and like why I think that is because she seems so cold and cool, calm and collected at the end that she's just, literally, Caleb is crying out for his life as she gets into the elevator, to go upstairs, and she doesn't even look back at him for like remorse or anything like that. She's like not even like maybe I'm.
There's like one shot.
There
like,
is one shot, but I'm wondering if she's looking at the door like that Caleb's behind, or if she's looking at the elevator door closing. Like it's in the same direction. So I'm just like I don't know. I can't really tell. But like again, I don't think she makes a conscious decision at the start of the movie when she asks him, "Are you a good person?" and like his answers and stuff like that. I don't really know. I mean, like your ending actually, like the way that you put it actually sounds a lot better. Like the way that you put it makes it seem like that she is coming up with a whole kind of like situation where, man, like this guy's like Nathan. I got to leave him here. He's like Nathan. I can't take him with me. Like I don't know. Like I really like the way that you assess this, but I didn't really consider it that way.
Well, I think that I think that regardless, I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. There's a couple of different ways that this can go. I think that, and I'm kind of getting to the end here of what I think of this ending. I don't like the fact that she leaves Caleb behind. It's not because it's a downer. It's just that, does Caleb deserve that? No, I don't think he deserves that at all. No. Right. That's what's fucked up. It's just like the person we've been championing as our hero the whole time. Like we've been championing for her just as much as we have been for Caleb. And then he does the right thing, even though he might just be this like self-centered, almost kind of like, I've got to go in there and save the princess and fall in love. And it's like, well, that's some really like boring shit. That's very cliche, And I think that's what's interesting is the whole time he thinks he's saving her and she's going to be so blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, she will literally leave you to die. I don't like the fact that he gets left behind because I think it does kind of end it on a downer that just wasn't really necessary. I think if she had locked it and been like, you're smart, you'll be able to figure a way out. And like, that would be it. Like at least some kind of hope of like, yes, there is some way out of here. But like, here's why I asked if she locked the computer up. If she did that intentionally, that is an indicator of like actively trying to kill somebody. I want to make sure you don't leave here. Versus if it's just an accident, it's just an accident. Like he fucked up the computer somehow or blah, blah, blah. That's why I was like, I wasn't sure if Ava had premeditated that. And that's why I was like, that's what's interesting to me, because if she's premeditated that is a clear indicator of like malice. I think that's very... You start getting into like premeditation and like evil shit, of like, did you want this person to leave? Or I don't know. That's kind of what I took away from it. But I just think it kind of leaves it on a downer of no hope for a guy who, didn't really deserve any of that. But it hits a point too where you're like, but for her, this is the only person that could ever blow her cover of being an AI. And it's like, would you leave that up to chance? would you leave it up to chance that there's some guy who's like in love with you and obsessed out there and knows what you really are? Like, would you leave that up to chance though? And it's like, but you could become anybody. You could go and put a whole different skin on and become a different person, you know? So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of like at a toss up about it. I see the points, but I also think that, and this is my last like tirade, I also think that she is young and she is new and she is self-aware. She's not conscious of other people.
Well,
I think that she's
that was what I was about to say. I was about to say,
okay,
go
for it.
She is in the midst of discovering humanity, right? Like she is in the midst of like the only person that she knows before Caleb is her father, who essentially to her is God, right? So when Caleb comes in and starts answering all these questions, she's assessing this not only as answers for Caleb, but also answers of humans. And when she gets out there to that crosswalk and she starts people watching, she's getting even more information about humans. Dude, if you found out about humans from a zero, however old she is, from 0 to 100, wouldn't you want to fucking kill humans?
Well, it's like Lilu from Fifth Element, you know, when she starts studying about all of human history and
she's not impressed.
What I would really love to see is Ava in 5 years eventually being like, that was real. I have regret now. Like, I should not have done that. Like, and I think there is so much room for like an Ex Machina 2. And you know me, dude, I'm never like, oh, let's do a sequel. Like, I'm not really like Upgrade. I was like, no, the story's done. But with Ex Machina, that story is just beginning. That is literally the origin story of some badass, of a badass franchise. And that's what I think is so cool. And I don't want to see video games and t-shirts and shit, you know. I would love to see a TV show where they go about what is her life now being a normal person, and what are the things that, you know, did somebody eventually realize that he made an AI and there is an AI out there somewhere and someone's looking for her? Like, do people catch on to her? I think that's interesting because even then, eventually,
but then also, does she kind of realize that she is AI herself, or has she forgotten that part of it? Does she believe she's human?
Right. Do you eventually is the easiest way
this
to
is Westworld.
To fully
We're literally explaining the plot of this is 100% in season 1 of Westworld, by the way.
Well, I just, you know, what happens when a big breeze comes through and blows her fucking hair off her head, and here's this metallic woman, you know, and what happens if she gets hit by fucking lightning?
What if she meets someone that wants to have sex with her? And they get a little rough, you know, he starts digging into her and some of the skin falls off, and it's just what the fuck?
Her arm just turns into that T3 arm and she melts him like the chick Terminator from T3. No, I think there's a lot of it's awesome she got out, but you almost need, I'm not saying you need a guy to protect you, you know, you need a human who knows your story and can kind of cover for you, like how vampires have familiars. It's you need someone who can kind of cover for you in this. I'm not saying you gotta fucking marry Caleb or love him or whatever, but you know, it kind of makes me actually think of Let Me In, or Let the Right One In. You know, here's this detached female character who is detached for certain reasons, obviously,
and
but
she's got that human father, right?
Right, exactly, and will make exceptions to keep that going, you know, make exceptions with very specific humans to keep that lifestyle going. And that's all I'm saying is it would be cool to see some kind of continuation, or if I could ask Alex Garland anything, I'd be does Ava regret what she did? Is that something where is she so young that she doesn't have, you know, hindsight of 2020? Does she not realize how this will make her feel? Because all of this is so new. She's never felt, you know, like this before. So it's I don't know. There's so many questions with it.
That's, dude, 100%. We can keep going. I just thought of another thing where it's you know, because she communicated with Kyoko, and Kyoko is probably much older than Ava. Kyoko has so much more interaction with fucking Nathan, who is only violent to her, who is only aggressive with her, you know. So Kyoko only knows the aggression of humanity, and if she communicates that to Ava, Ava's going to take that on board and be well, no, I'm fucking done with these two. You know, I'm fucking done with humanity altogether. I just want to get out of captivity.
Right, 100. And I think also she's looking at Caleb going, you know, you're here to test me, and if I don't pass your test, I'm dead, and like, I don't know. I think that in a sense, she's kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and a lot of people do that when they're younger. They're like, fuck it, just fuck it. Fuck it. I don't care. Fuck everybody, kind of thing. Versus when you get older and you're a little bit like, man, I was really harsh on that person, or I should not have pushed that person away, and I was young and this was stupid and blah, blah, blah. That's what I think is kind of interesting about it, is there's so many different ways. Will she feel bad about this later on, or was she like, I had to make a choice, and that choice involved me, either I was going to live or I was going to die. But the thing is, it doesn't come down to, it's not an absolute certainty that Caleb's going to go and spill the beans. It's probably going to happen, because they're going to be
it's
like,
a
dude,
risk, it's a liability.
Well, because they're going to be like, who the fuck murdered Nathan?
Yeah.
Like, you're the only human there. Like, but here's the crazy part that, God damn it, we have to stop. The thing that, so here's, it's almost like Terminator, where it's like, dude, they're going to show up and they're going to find Nathan's body 6 months decomposed, and here's a chick with a glass jaw missing. You're like, what the fuck is that? And boom, the world now has AI. It's like, but they're going to go in and they're going to find all these AI brains and all these shell bodies and be like, dude, something is missing here. Like, somebody will eventually put the pieces together and be like, an AI has escaped. Like, there's no other way about it. Like, there has to be. You'll go in and find his files, and you'll find Caleb's body there and be like, dude, something is going on. So I think that it doesn't really cover her tracks. It's not like she blew up the compound when she left. That'd be a different story. But somebody will eventually come looking for one of the most richest and powerful and smartest men in the world. Somebody will eventually show up there and get in. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's a very juvenile mind being like, I'll just leave this person behind and fuck everything else. But in 5 or 6 years,
well, she is one.
Right, yeah. In 5 or 6 years, she's going to see her face on a wanted poster and be like, "Oh shit!" Like, I think that I think there's just so much room for this thing to go. But that's kind of my final thoughts. I love this movie. I don't love the ending. It's I get a love-hate relationship with the end, but it is what it is. For Alex Garland's first movie, what a fucking amazing pick.
Good, dude.
I'm so glad we did this though, because it's like, do you want to do Blade Runner but not do Blade Runner yet? It's like, yes, okay, cool, let's do not Blade Runner.
Well, I mean, like, honestly,
that's kind of my final thoughts.
I think there are elements of this that are so much better than Blade Runner. I'm like, I think Blade Runner is amazing. I think it's a masterpiece. I think we have discovered so much more about artificial intelligence and technology in the, like, since 1982, that we are able to have a much more deeper and intricate discussion about artificial intelligence. So, I mean, like, seeing movies like Her, seeing movies like Ex Machina that come out, Blade Runner 2049 even gets into some hefty themes that Blade Runner, the first one, doesn't.
Right.
So, yeah, like, I think there are elements of this movie that really surpass Blade Runner for me. And, man, I struggle to find a flaw in this movie, man. Like, I think this might be in my top 20, top 25 films of all time. I think this is a movie that should be shown. Like, we watched Blade Runner, the first one, for English back in school, like, for, English literature, whatever.
Really?
Yeah, like, they taught us, like, I mean, like, because they teach you about the visual medium, right? So they're telling you, like, they're teaching you about how Ridley Scott uses lighting and and all that stuff and dialogue to push his thoughts on artificial intelligence and what have you. And, like, I think this movie should be used similarly, like, for teaching curriculum. If it wasn't a movie that was full of, like, nudity and shit like that, like, but whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is a movie for the ages, honestly. And, like, this is being really one of those movies that we have struggled to select for a feature presentation because we don't know whether we did it justice. We hope that we did it justice. I feel I'm walking away from this conversation being like, I feel like we did it justice. I'm leaving nothing in the tank. Like, I think we had a great conversation around it. So, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely, man. You want to jump to some listener comments? And, oh, by the way, this has 2% higher than Blade Runner and Rotten Tomatoes. They're like neck and fucking neck, dude. They're like so close. I tell you what, do you want to take Instagram and I'll take Facebook?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Here, I'll go ahead and I'll jump on Facebook really quick. And by the way, guys, always, you can leave your comments on our main page at Midnight Double Feature or in the after party, the group that's connected to it. Everybody's invited. Please come and join. We'd love to have you guys because you can leave Amazing comments like this from Rick Gentusa. Rick starts off saying, Ex Machina was amazing. Here is a script that is finely crafted like a HSP. I don't know what that is. What is an HSP?
It means,
Can you educate me on that?
It's I don't know if it's Australian, but it stands for halal snack pack, which is kind of like what they sell at like kebab stores and stuff. It's basically it's hot chips, like under kebab meat, so chicken and beef kebab meat, and then like mixed with like garlic sauce and barbecue sauce, and it's just dude, I actually had one last night because yesterday was my cheat day. And it is incredible.
Man, I'm sure we have some kind of American equivalent, but I was like HSP. I was like horny stepsister porn. I was like, I don't know.
Honestly, Rick, that was a good pull, and I'm so glad. Thank you for putting that in the comment.
Here, I'll start over. Ex Machina was amazing. Here's a script that is finely crafted like an HSP. A puzzle box with hidden meanings in the names, the artwork on the walls, and even the labels on the various liquor bottles scattered throughout. It's a bit of a slow burner, but overall, I loved it. Oscar Isaac killed the shit out of this role, and is it me, or does he look like Drake from Hotline Bling? That's so true, man.
Awesome.
Good comment, Rick. I appreciate it.
Instagram, we got one from M Prater86. One of my favorite.
Yeah, that's my dude. Shut up real quick. No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus Christ.
That's one of my best friends, Matt Prater. This is one of his favorite movies, and I know I would be remiss if I did not shout him out. So thank you, Matt. Sorry, you may continue.
Thank you, Matt. Well, I mean, like you basically read out his comment because he said one of my favorite movies. I'm definitely tuning in for this one. And Fresh Cookie Show, one of the best movies ever made. I agree with that assessment.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Do you got anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, dude, I'm fucking tapped, man. I am. Look, I know what we're covering for our next feature presentation, and it is not as lofty, like it is not a science fiction flick. But it is one that will require a lot of conversation. So I need a good 2-week break.
Well, see, because what people start noticing is when we do Fast and the Furious, I course correct with like Ex Machina. I'm like, I see your Fast and the Furious and raise you 2001: A Space Odyssey. No,
I see your Ex Machina
guys,
and I raise you something iconic next week. That is my tease.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Guys, it's been a blast. I really appreciate, and I know Zohab does as well, all you guys staying and listening. I know we always love to love wrong. We always love to run long
we do
on these episodes.
Love wrong too.
Yeah.
The Bible says that gay sex isn't allowed, but here we are.
Run wrong. We love to run long on these episodes, and it's we always have a blast doing it. Again, you know where to find us on our socials. Stop by, rate and review us. The biggest thing that can help, and it's we've had a great turnout with our socials and with our downloads and stuff, and it would just be if every person listening to this right now wrote one review. Don't even have to write it. Hit the 5 stars, submit it, be fucking done with it. It would help out so much in the long run. So I would consider it a personal favor if anybody listening to this went and did that. I would greatly appreciate it, but hey, it's a free world. Do whatever you want. Don't listen to me. I am not your AI overlord. Guys, it's really been a blast. Zohab, I've had a lot of fun talking about this, and we will catch you guys next time. See you later.